The story originated in the material realm, namely the main city of the second level, Baiyin. The city was shaped like a fortress and surrounded by dense forests. The main events of the day took place in the central square of the city, where a white angel named Lakina appeared. Her long golden hair was blowing in the light wind, and her large white wings were astonishingly beautiful. White armor with golden embroidery tightened firmly on her slender body. Lakina's appearance caused a stir among the people present in the square at that moment. A young man present in the crowd at the time took a decisive step towards her. He walked up to her and looked her confidently in the eye. It wasn't difficult for him. He was the same height as Lakina. A breeze of tension swirled around them, as suddenly the man fell to his knees in front of her with all his might, ecstatic that he had met her again. His hands gripped the girl's hips hard and brazenly. The man's unceremonious actions did not delight the girl, but quite the opposite. The beautiful face distorted with a mask of displeasure. Lakina's eyes narrowed with intense tension. The long staff that was always in her hands, with the crescent moon on top and the round blue sphere, shimmered with power. Small blue lightning bolts began to swirl around the sphere, making a distinctive, frightening sound. This sound brought death to all the unwanted. A large and powerful lightning bolt suddenly appeared in the center of the square. This lightning struck the insolent young man, making him forget. Everyone around him shuddered at his cry of pain. Lakina soared upwards in anger and watched the agony of her offender majestically. But in this world, death did not carry complete oblivion and emptiness. Death transported the young man to a secret base where he soon woke up. It was a tall, domed building with rectangular, long windows. A scoreboard materialized in front of the protagonist's eyes, informing him that he had been killed by a special NPC of Baiyin City, namely White Angel Lakina. For this reason, special restrictions were applied to him and reset his level to 0, returning him to his original state. But there was no dejection on the man's face, only a sly smile. This was exactly what he was trying to achieve. He had completed a unique hidden achievement called the Embrace of Angel Thighs. All those deaths were just for one reward, a scroll of luck. To obtain the coveted scroll, he needed to die 369 times and took 69 days, 4 hours, and 12 minutes to do so, which couldn't fail to impress the average passerby. The scroll was in his hands, and he was glad and proud of himself. The man clutched it tightly in his fist. When he opened the scroll, he had a sense of triumph, because this scroll gave him great opportunities, thanks to which he could change his future destiny. Golden streams of power from the scroll flowed into the man, this power lifting his body above the ground. When the scroll of luck had exhausted itself, giving all possible powers to the young man, the blue scoreboard flashed again. It announced that the man had gained the hidden unique profession of Black Card Emperor, his new talent being Black Card Synthesis. The man sat down, cross-legged, his face looking quite youthful due to his excitement and tongue hanging out. He decided to look up the details of his new features on the panel. After familiarizing himself with the details of the characteristic, he chose the talent button of the profession. His new talent came as a shock. It was Black Card Synthesis, and he didn't need the always necessary recipe for it. Only 2 cards were needed for synthesis. That was impressive news. He was damn glad about it. After all, he could now create a mutant card and increase his talent level without any effort. It is important to note that this was the world of the card game, and cards were a great power here. The mastery of strong cards could bring the other players to their knees before him. The general rules of this world were very similar to a regular card game. The system called each player a card warrior, and all living beings in this world are just cards. There were weapon cards and cards with all sorts of communication tools in this world. There are 5 types of cards in the card game. Each of them is different in color and strength. The weakest card is white, after it comes green. In the middle is blue because of the nature of its strength, after purple, and the strongest card is orange. The weakest cards are the easiest for a player to get. There are 2 other special types of cards, black and red. Their peculiarity is that the color does not reflect the strength of the card. Red and black cards can be as cool as orange cards and can also be as rubbish as the white weakest cards. Any card can be improved in 2 ways. The first way is to strengthen the cards. The second way is to synthesize 2 cards. These methods require a special recipe. In its absence, the procedure of card enhancement fails, which leads to the disappearance of both the card itself and the materials. The protagonist was unusually proud and pleased with himself, for he was now the Emperor of Black Cards. Thanks to this ability, he no longer needed any recipes. The man was already dreaming of how he would be able to synthesize a large number of cool cards to help him through the game. But he didn't have time for that. To obtain the hidden mission, he had spent quite a lot of his time. Players like him were already at level 20 while he was at level 0. He wanted to catch up with them as soon as possible. He knew that the game always started with a white card. This white card could be obtained from the goddess statue in the secret base. The emperor approached the goddess and prayerfully folded his hands and asked for the best map for himself. The majestic statue of the goddess looked down on him. Blue streams of power swirled, creating a map for the man. A map with a drawing of a polar bear named Pan Bao fell into his hands. The young man thought that such a frail bear without basic skills was worthless. The system offered the player to use a tutorial guide to the secret base. But the hero was confident in his abilities because even though he was at level 0 after his recent death, he was still more than half a year in this world. The secret base is an exclusive space for every player of this world. There are 5 counters in this base, namely the vault, the exchanger, the mission hall, the teleportation portal, and the goddess statue itself. The hero stood pensively in the middle of the secret base. He needed 2 cards to use his newfound talent, but at that moment he only had 1 polar bear. He made the decision to go to the mission hall and take the rookie challenge. On the scoreboard, he found the easiest mission, which involved killing 1 training rooster. The reward for this mission was unlocking an exclusive mission, quest missions, trials. Also unlocking the chat system and 1 random white card. The man chose this challenge and a portal appeared in front of him that would transport him to the mission location. Standing in the middle of the portal, the emperor activated his map and prepared for the mission. This was the second time he had been transported to the beginner's area. The place was familiar to him, so he felt very confident. A training rooster walked importantly around the stone arena. It was a very ordinary domestic rooster. The man called his Pan Bao to defeat the enemy rooster. PA, large polar bear, defeated a small rooster in a few blows. Without any extra effort, the mission was passed. The man passed the challenge and received his reward. The chat system, quest mission system, mission collection system, challenge system, and random mission system were unlocked for him. He was also rewarded with a 2-star white card called Midnight Cat Daisic. Now the young man had 2 cards in his hands and could synthesize them. He only needed 20 MPs to do the synthesis and he had them. The power of the 2 cards wove together in streams in the air above the square. Thanks to his talent of synthesizing black cards, he had no need for a recipe to synthesize these cards. The 1-star card, White Bear Pan Bao, and the 2-star card, Midnight Cat Daisic, synthesized into an abnormal black card. With his right hand, he confidently caught the newly created map with his fingers. The new card was a 2-star black card hiding a panda named Panda. The emperor waved his hand and threw the map at his feet. Puffs of thick smoke were created around the place. A large fighting panda with a stern face materialized from the puffs of smoke. The man was absolutely delighted because by synthesizing 2 random white cards, he had obtained a skill card at the level of the green card. The black card emperor was happy and determined to use his new abilities to reach the heights of the game and beat the other players. The hero of the story decided not to delay the realization of his plans. He returned to the secret base and opened the panel to search for a new mission. He chose a mission with a requirement below level 10 called Defense of Kasar. The essence of this mission is that the players go to the coastal fishing village of Kasar. There they should repel the attack of a group of evil fishmen for 100 minutes. The mission is considered to be over when the leader of the fishmen, Shark Levin, is killed. With his game level, the man could only choose the N1 difficulty. It didn't take him long to choose among the dozens of offers. Opting for N1, need a veteran, joining a team of similar players. Upon joining the Black Card Emperor group chat, he was immediately deleted by other players who, upon seeing his first level, decided that he was talentless and would not last in this mission. The man resented this injustice to him, but he courageously exhaled and decided not to argue with the other players. Gritting his teeth, he continued his search for a group for the mission. After a couple of minutes of searching, the man decided to pick one at random. When he entered the chat room, he was surprised because everyone there was level 1. And although the mission was easy, the man knew he couldn't handle it so easily. Kasar is a small fishing village in the center of the map with 3 roads leading east, south, and west. At the end of each road near the ocean, there are portals to the fishmen attack. During the course of the mission, when the fishmen are revived, 3 roads will open up. Each of these directions will send their squad every 10 minutes. There will be 9 waves in total. With each new wave, the strength and number of attackers will increase. bosses will appear on the 3rd, 6th, and 9th wave. On the 3rd wave, the fish-eating warrior Lee Jason appears, and on the 6th wave, the warrior Sha Sika appears. Knowledgeable players gave them the names Dali, meaning big carp, and Sha, meaning second shark. Accordingly, the big carp is Lee Jason, and the second shark is Sha Sika. On the last 9th level, the main decisive boss appears, the fish-eating Sha Liwen, better known as Old Man Sha. It is a large shark with powerful musculature and high level of life resources. Only if he is killed, the quest is considered to be completed. 4 players, including the protagonist, were transported to Kasar. The 4 players, including the protagonist, were transported to Kasar. One of the players under the nickname I Come When I Want wanted to blame the Emperor for the defense of the southern portal, which our hero was not happy about. The man realized that everyone on his team was completely inept at completing missions and was a nub. He had 2 options. The first was to use his map and complete the level. The second, a simpler option, take a task from an NPC, build a fortification, and repair the watchtowers. He activated the card with a wave of his hand, unleashing a huge panda. An animal arose behind the man's back, folding its paws to show its readiness to do the bidding of its keeper. The man, meanwhile, went to the master's office to get an assignment about building a fortification. When he got there, he noticed that there were no other players there. The task was to find 200 bricks in the village to block the road from the east and west portals. That way, the fish people would only be able to pass through the southern road. No one but the Emperor took this task. In the case of a successful repair of the watchtower, if the archer is still not dead from the clutches of the fishman, the player can climb the tower to improve the strength and range of deflecting attacks. The man went to the next task, where there was no one from his team. He was met by a young girl named Coco Luo, and if he fulfills her task of collecting, he will receive a magic potion as a prize. The player can give the potion to the elder, who will release a green healing aura every minute of the game. This aura will heal 10% of the power of every player and animal in the village. While the protagonist was building the fortification, the sea raged and the teleportation system of the fishermen became active. The other players began to gradually kill the newly arrived enemies. 20 minutes later, there was an announcement about the imminent start of the 3rd wave and the attack of the warrior Lee Jason. The other players started wishing for his death as they thought he had not killed anyone due to his inactivity. The portal activation took place and the first fish boss appeared in the game, the warrior Lee Jason. It was a really big red carp with a cleaver in his paw. The protagonist's eyes went wide at what he saw, his hands hanging limply for a split second. He wondered how the first boss had appeared right in front of him. The army of green fishmen began their assault, led by the boss, and the man realized that there were still 30 laps to go before the coveted reinforcement. So he summoned a panda to distract the fish people and give him the time he needed. A fierce battle ensued between the opponents. The panda was knocking down dozens of fishmen with a single leap. The battle promised to be fast. Knocking out her opponents, the panda didn't notice the boss attacking her from behind. But the panda spotted his new opponent in time and repelled his attack with one blow, knocking Carp off his feet. A few more blows and the enemies were defeated. The 3rd wave was repelled. The man rejoiced at the presence of summoned beasts on the battlefield because thanks to them, the monsters did not pay attention to him and he could continue his work. But then his amber eyes widened in surprise. The Come When I Want player called the beasts to his defense but was killed. The man's displeasure had no bounds. As the announcements began to appear again, the other 2 players also dropped out of the game. One player left a message for the Black Card Emperor when he died, telling him not to waste their time and to quit the mission too, much to the man's anger. Anger blazed fire inside the man. He was determined to complete this mission, even though he was alone. He began to gather bricks for fortification many times faster, driving himself up with anger and taking strength from that emotion. And then came that welcome moment when the last brick was placed in its proper place. The man wiped the sweat with his hand and exhaled. Now it was left to the master to build the fortification. The master was a strong young man, so he took the trowel in his hands and finished the fortification very quickly. The work on the fortification was finished, but there was still the task of the watchtower ahead. Meanwhile, the panda fought off the attacks of the fishmen, but with each blow its life resources were decreasing, reaching a critical level. So the man decided to go straight to the pharmacist's mission and increase the panda's HP. He quickly completed the gathering task from Coco Luo, obtaining a vial of the coveted elixir. He went to hand the potion to the elder. The elder drained the container in a few gulps. Immediately, green streams of power began to develop from him in waves. Elder Bear received the healing aura skill. Panda's life reserve gained power soared to its maximum, giving her new strength for battle and making her invincible. The sixth wave of attacks began, and a new boss, the second shark, appeared, with a new horde of rank-and-file fishmen. The panda defeated the powerful opponent with quick strikes, reducing his life force to 0, as the blue portal glowed nearby again, signaling a new arrival of enemies. The young man stared tensely at the portal, for he realized that this was the last 9th wave, and it heralded the arrival of the main boss. A giant shark grew before him, several times the size of the man and frightening in its power. Killing this enemy kept him one step closer to completing the task. The panda clashed in battle with the last boss, while the man calmly watched from the side. The shark exceeded the panda's attack power, but even though the panda had little strength, the elder was constantly restoring its reserve. The panda picked up the golden trident with restored strength and struck the shark again and again. The enemy's strength was melting as they had no feeding from the outside, and shark began to miss hits. She now drew a line of defense rather than attack. But she was still losing. After a few repeated blows, the leader of the fishmen was defeated by Panda. The fishman's attack was repelled, taking 89 minutes and 46 seconds. During the fight, more than 10,000 fish people were killed, so the man was rewarded with a treasure chest. The man also received a trident strike card that belonged to Sha Siku. The man was happy to have such rewards and to have won the task. This fight he had won only with his strength and perseverance. It was time to return to the mission hall using the portal. At the special base, 3 chests of rewards were waiting for him, sparkling with the power that was hidden in them. The man stopped in front of them in excitement. A man reached the 2nd level by completing the mission. When he opened the chests in front of him, he saw a large amount of gold coins and 1 blank card in each. The player stared at the newly acquired treasures with admiration. He hoped that the 3 new cards would be rare and very valuable. He wished he could take it all. At that point, he had 2 skill points that improve his recognition skill. He should be able to handle recognizing white cards on his own. If the man continues to work on his own improvement, he will be able to recognize stronger green and blue cards. He needed 10 units of magic to recognize one of the 3 cards. He was determined to spend them to manifest that card. Upon manifestation, it turned out to be a black Battle Bear Lobo card that was already tied to another game. Luobo was a melee fighter. The hero didn't appreciate the first card and hoped that the next 2 would be better. The next summoning card was the brave resident of Sogol village, which was the archer on the watchtower for the quest defense of Kasar. The man rejoiced at this card, regretting that there was only 1. As the second, the idea came to him that he could try to combine the 2 cards and see what would happen. His lips stretched into a sly, anticipatory smile. The card synthesis was activated, and as a result, the young man received a new card, namely the Valiant Bear Lobo card, that when completing the quest defense of Kasar automatically activates the fortification and defensive towers. The hero was delighted, because it was the perfect card for the quest. It could also be used in various other quests, and there was no limit on the number of times the card could be used. This particular map was one that could be copied. The man immediately went back to retaking the quest defense of Kasar. The summoned beast quickly and easily repelled the fishman's attacks. Throwing weapons, the beast knocked them out one by one. The Black Card Emperor stood aside from the battle and was satisfied with the picture he saw. He liked the power of the animal's attack, which could save the defense of the village and make him rich at the same time. Summoning the trident that was previously Sha Sik's property, he leisurely walked to explore the nearby forests. In the forest outside the village, there are 6 types of items that the player can collect. The 6 creatures are a mutated fishman, a gray jackal, a black goat, a goblin in armor, and a swamp slime. But the most coveted and most powerful was the granite golem. For each defeated monster, the player can get different prizes. Due to the fact that they can only be obtained within the quest, some players are teamed up. The leaders send the others to complete the level and themselves go to explore the world. The man, because of his level, only had the ability to kill fish people, which is what he did during his walk. For killing one of them, he received a fishbone saber for his left hand. It was noted that special items should be given to the masters and get an unexpected item. But the man was unwilling to buy a cat in a bag and kept the saber to himself. After this not-so-pleasant gift, he made the decision to end his quest for adventure and return back to the village. By the time the young man arrived at the village, the summoned beast was doing battle with Old Man Sha, marking the last stage of the quest. The beast struck many blows with varying force, With each blow, Shark's life force dwindled, causing him to become completely exhausted and die. The Black Card Emperor looked triumphantly at the defeated Shark, pointing his own golden trident at his corpse. Players were rewarded with additional chests for completing the quest. When the hero came out of the portal, he saw 4 large chests and hurried towards them. Upon opening the chests, he saw that the rewards were indeed worthwhile. The blue diamond that was inside could be used to improve the base building. The scroll lying next to it could be used as its own portal and a beautiful decoration on the base. Also in the 4th chest was a map. The man hoped that from it the Black Bear map would manifest and he would have the opportunity to synthesize another valiant guardian bear into his collection. But he was disappointed. It was a mediocre white card frog woo woo. The man knew that fusion could only be done with known cards. He wondered what he could do with the new card. The protagonist decided not to be upset for long and activating the panel under trading platform, decided to look there for the possibility of buying Black Bear. Pressing the search button for the desired card, his eyes quickly grew in size. His mouth opened in surprise and he cried out loudly. The price was a fabulously large 99,999. He realized that he would never be able to earn such a large sum. With the hope of finding something at least reasonably priced for him, he decided to look at the search results in detail. And soon luck turned to our hero. He found a bargain. 10 Black Bear cards for 666 coins. But the man's happiness was short-lived as he realized that his game balance was still low on coins. He was only 585 coins short of what he needed to buy cards. It seemed as if he was ready to cry because of how close they were to him and yet how out of reach they remained. He tried to bargain with the card seller, but even the bargain price was high for him. So he made the hard decision to sell the Trident card. But with confidence and tears in his eyes, he promised himself that at the first opportunity, he would buy himself 2 whole cards. Having put the card up for sale for 1,888, he received notifications of the sale in a split second. The hero was unusually happy about such a quick transaction and was ready to jump for joy and kiss the panel. With great pride, he took 10 Black Bear cards. In his imagination, fanfare signaled such success and little gold stars appeared. After getting his hands on the maps, he began to make further plans to realize his cherished goal. He wanted to complete the quest again, but with the help of a squad he would create. He wanted others to do all the work for him. With sincere faith in his powers and encouragement, he summoned his powers to synthesize the cards. The power sparkled with blue streams, illuminating the completely dark room. Thanks to the synthesis, the man obtained a synthesized black card with a single-star Valiant Bear Luo bow. This card was not like the Guardian's previous card. With this one, he could create several at once. His eyes read admiration. He was already making plans to enrich himself. The Emperor made a new attempt to join the team to realize his goals and retake the quest. But to no avail. The man's eyes blazed with anger and his hands clenched into fists. But at one moment, a message appeared before his eyes. A team was looking for a brick-dragging master for 300 coins. He joined the chat room, but even here he had to struggle due to his low level. After all, they wanted a level 5 player on the team to handle quite a lot of work. Other players wanted to remove him, but he managed to assure them that he was not a newbie. All he had to do was demonstrate his knowledge of hidden levels and show off his new map. Immediately, the decision was made to transfer to Kasar, where in a minute they had already met up and started the task. In the center of Kasar, an unknown girl trumpeted an instrument, making loud rumbling sounds like some sort of cry, a call to action. After the sound ended, the village magically began to disappear. All the familiar buildings, the long streets, and even the stones lying on the ground disappeared. The man looked at what was happening with intense amazement. Despite his long experience in the game, he had never seen this and did not know about this hidden level. The small, shabby village began to slowly transform into a large town with large brick buildings, masonry instead of earthy paths. The place began to transform before the eyes of the 4 players. They entered the hidden quest to defend the fortress and the location changed accordingly. The 4 friends were standing in the main square of the renewed Kasar when they received a notification that the fishmen were about to attack. This notification was the impetus for immediate action. The players raised the cards that appeared immediately in their hands. Each of them was determined to act. During the simultaneous call of the animals, the square was covered with tall puffs of smoke. There was no visibility at all. But when the wind currents carried the smoke away, the Black Card Emperor cried out in surprise. He doubted the reality of what his eyes were broadcasting to his brain. In the central square, two valiant pandas solo in iron armor and an armored triceratops materialized. But the most amazing thing was that these animals could be ridden. But it didn't take long for our hero to admire what he saw. Another player reminded him that time was running out. The emperor quickly did his job, completely ignoring the master, and received his fee. He invited others to add to his friend list for possible future work and immediately received notifications of friend requests. He approved them. After that, thanks to his map, which also defended during the fortification of the walls, the emperor assured the others that it was possible to walk around the location. With a quick glance at the battlefield, he saw that the fishman's attack was being repelled by a mechanized warrior. The warrior shocked the man, causing his mouth to open wide in surprise. The mechanized warrior was abnormally fast and easily led the fishmen into battle. The man even wondered if he would defeat them all on his own and leave something for the others. Another player was striking with fire, and two archers on the fortification wall had his back. A short time later, a notification came that the fisherman wanted to attack with renewed vigor. The man froze in bewilderment. There were hundreds of shells flying in the sky above the battle. The man asked a rhetorical question about how the fish people had guns, because in the story they were afraid of fire. But lifting his head up and taking a detailed look, he noticed that these fast projectiles were small fishmen. One of them was already flying towards our hero, intending to knock him down and take him out. But at the very last moment, the fishman met the huge fist of valorous bear, who repelled the attack on the emperor. The man was impressed by such strength and speed. Noticing this, the other male player ordered the black-card emperor to go to the forest for logs, for he realized that the battlefield was very dangerous, and no one was willing to expend any effort to protect the emperor. Taking two valiant bears with him, the black-card emperor went to explore the forest. On the way, he reasoned that stealth mode didn't affect the strength of the monsters, so he could try to build a fortification in the forest. When a fortification appeared in front of his eyes, he rejoiced because now he could hunt forest monsters and it would be more convenient to attack from the fortification. Just as suddenly, a strange splitting sound in the air made the man turn round sharply and narrow his eyes. A small fishman flew towards him. He reacted instantly and tried to run away from the projectile, but he was surprised to find himself slammed into an invisible wall. And then an idea popped into his head. He came up with a plan to kill the granite golem. He immediately put the plan into action by throwing an axe at the golem's head, drawing its attention. The valiant bear pinpointed the golem from the first hit. Its large size, clutching iron armor, and formidable appearance was impressive. The emperor, meanwhile, stood behind, folding his arms in anticipation. Such a lunge infuriated the golem and angrily barked at the attacker and ducked down to prepare for future combat. It didn't take long for him to get there. The golem immediately began to scatter to achieve its goal and strike. But suddenly, he hit an invisible barrier. With all his might, Golem's muzzle hit the wall. The man standing on top of the fortification with bear was triumphant. His plan had worked. As he had expected, the quest players could use the trees, but the monsters could not. While the granite golem chiseled at the invisible wall, not understanding why it couldn't reach its victim, the man made plans to attack the golem. He ordered Valor Bear to kill the granite golem. But he was in for a nasty surprise. The golem easily lifted the huge stone and made a dizzying throw. The stone began its movement towards the man, overcoming the invisible defense. The large stone reached its destination and hovered dangerously over the man. The black-card emperor stared at the cobblestone in surprise and with fear in his eyes. There was a loud sound. The other players during the battle were surprised by the sound and were puzzled about its cause. They hoped that the black-card emperor hadn't bumped into the granite golem. They believed that with such a difference in strength, the man would not survive and would be defeated by the golem. But he was lucky. The valiant bear bravely took the blow and, touching the stone with his bare paws, split it in two in midair. The man was jubilant. His theory was confirmed. The granite golem could only attack those made of flesh and blood. Since the granite golem had no healing skills, the man made the decisions to just attack it to the last man. The bear, having been ordered to do so, attacked the enemy again and again with his axe. Watching the fight closely, the man tensed up. The golem's attack damage was low. The man estimated that it would take about 40 minutes to kill it. That might not be enough time. As it happened, there wasn't enough time to kill. The time to complete the quest was up. So the hero decided to try his luck again next time on his own. At the end of the quest, the Black Card Emperor's level has been upgraded to level 3. At the secret base, the player was already waiting for the rewards for passing. When appearing there, the man saw 3 chests on the chest floor. Each chest shimmered with a golden glow and beckoned the player. Thanks to the hidden level, his reward was doubled. Rare rewards were hidden in the chests. In the level 2 reward chest was a night gem and a deep sea powder. The man touched Blair's gift chest impatiently, for it was supposed to contain a hidden level reward. He expected it to contain something really cool. Opening it, he saw a mountain of gold coins, 2 new maps, and a certificate that confirmed the passing of the fortress. Taking one of the cards into his hand, the man exhaled disappointedly, for there was a first edition fish cannon. Such a map was a surprise to the man. He didn't realize where the fishmen even got their cannon and cannonballs from. Still, he made the decision that he could try to combine this card with the sequentially God card and see what would come out. While the synthesis of the cards was being conducted, the man was lost in speculation about the end result. He hoped that either the God cannon or the divine cannon would be synthesized, but his wish was not destined to come true. The synthesis resulted in a black card with 1-star follower Fluffy Thunderbird. The man scratched his chin, assessing the card thoughtfully. Although the card's attack power depended on the fisherman, the aim and range weren't bad. He decided to test the strength. He opened the Game Bank scoreboard again to buy shells for the cannon. Only one vendor was selling little fishmen. It was the king of the cave again. After starting correspondence with him, the man realized that he definitely had the skill of card synthesis. So he asked him for 20 cards. When gaining level 10, the player can choose between 3 skills: normal, special, and professional. The choice is random. The card creation skill is rarely offered by the system for selection. The man decided to try synthesizing cards from the white cards he had bought, because after the last synthesis he was worried about the result. Few players could boast the skill of synthesis, so the man watched with pride as his cards synthesized. The blue auras of the cards were forming one on top of the other, and when the new cards were already hovering in front of him, after a brief thought, he realized the logic behind the creation of the cards. He looked at the silly little rabbit card that he had in his hand, which was the product of the synthesis of careless little snail and short-sighted silly rabbit. The resulting cards are created from 2 characters from each card. After synthesis, the card could become weaker. And if you synthesize cards with 1 star, you will end up with a 1-star card. So he decided to test his hunch on 2 random cards. One had a drawing of a gray cat and the other a ginger puppy. A man was surprised when he received a black Dodge puppy card. Throwing the card at his feet, he summoned the animal it contained. A small red puppy with a white belly and a jingle on its collar appeared before him on the checkerboard floor, and he immediately flung himself into his master's arms for affection. The man noticed that the baby had an artifact bag and could search for treasures. He positively assessed the animal's capabilities and, rising to his feet, called him to search for treasure. They moved towards the granite golem, immediately going on the attack, striking carefully and powerfully. The player quickly defeated the monster. After killing the granite golem, the player received a reward for the mission, namely, game points, diamonds, and the certificate of killing the granite golem. The little puppy zipped over to the awards and took them into his pouch. The man was impressed by the speed. Praising the pup, he opened the artifact bag and pulled out a new green card from there. He held a green card in his hands. What he saw pleased him greatly, and he decided to increase his level to 2nd. The green card turned out to have 6 stars. It was the Mountain General Day gun. The man started kissing the card in delight. He was as happy as a little child because the card had good defense and aura skill. But after a moment, the realization came to him that he could use it at level 5. His head immediately dropped, his shoulders slumped. He was lost. After grieving, he pulled himself together and decided to add a star to the cannon follower for his improvement. Throwing out a pack of cards with little fishmen, he commanded them to appear at his feet. Immediately, he summoned the cannon follower. The Black Card Emperor has ordered the cannon follower to use the surrounding fish people for farming. Meanwhile, Valiant Bear will farm elsewhere. The hero himself went to the village to get his inventory. He was holding a small blue-black circle with holes in it. It was a mountain heart. It was an item he got from the granite golem. He made the decision to give it to the elder. The elder was grateful to him. He told him that he could use this granite golem's heart on the clay golem and improve its strength by 5%. The man refused the opportunity. But the elder shared another secret. Until you get level 5 on the mission when 4 people are defending Kasar and when 666 fishmen have been killed, you can get the hidden achievement and pick up the rewards. The player rejoiced at such a secret. For him in the game was unlock the opportunity to get the hidden achievement. He left to look through other players' dialogues to find a new team. The I Am Not a Hero player told him about the new game mode Unlimited Flame Power, where using cards doesn't waste mana and animals revive after death. But the hero of the story wanted to go on a quest and refused to let the player fight for now. The man found a new fags team unknown to him. He wrote to them in chat promising to do the dirty work and showed his card. The others then agreed despite the Emperor's third level. Within seconds, they were already standing at Kasar's side, introducing themselves to each other. One man's name was Valkyrie Lin Yun. The Emperor was surprised by such a name. The other man's name was Strongest Bastard, and the woman's name was Let Me Work a Miracle. The woman suggested not wasting time, but getting straight to work. She and Bastard were going east and west to block the road, promising to come back after 2 waves to hand over the hard work. Valkyrie and the Emperor were in the forest watching the animals work on the fortification. Valkyrie noted that the work was going quickly. The Emperor, who in the meantime was sitting under a tree, rated it a 3, but noted that the Valkyrie bull warriors were good at fighting fishmen. His memory told him that this bull was a mage. Valkyrie rubbed the back of his head and admitted that he rarely shows this map to regular players, but he decided to reveal the secret to his stronger comrade. He too had previously completed this quest on his own, and asked the Emperor to add him as a friend. Then came the announcement of the kill statistics, which made the Emperor perk up. He already had 666 kills to his credit. He immediately made the decision to leave for a while, calling his animals back. He told Valkyrie that he would go while he fought with the other monsters. The player let him go without any problems, for their work was done. The Emperor received a notification that the hidden mission had been completed. He also gained the same amount of experience points, gold coins, and a special skill. His level had risen to level 5. And the special skill was to strengthen the little Murloc card. He also received a new card. It was an enhanced white card with the 5 stars of Valkyrie the Fisherman. He decided to use it as a projectile. His attack power increased 5 times. His idea was to create an army of fishmen and defeat all the other players. When he returned to the village, he saw that the other players had not yet left the quest. Bastard and Let Me Make a Miracle were not happy that each of them had killed 3,000 monsters when the Emperor had killed many times less. And only Valkyrie thought that the Black Card Emperor had completed all of his tasks, making it easy for them all to defend themselves. He raised both palms in a conciliatory gesture, but Let Me Make a Miracle was set up for a 2-on-2 duel. To do so, they had to add each other as friends. She wanted to play the new location Unlimited Flame Power and was taking the others on the weak. The Emperor smiled conciliatingly in agreement. But inside, he was not happy with the situation. He realized that the woman wanted to gain points in the arena at his expense. With a sly smile, he thought to himself that this was definitely not going to happen. He was going to show his full power in the arena and teach the insolent players a lesson. The arena was divided into 5 levels with a definite hierarchy from high to low: Royal, Diamond, Gold, Silver, and Bronze. There are 2 positions in the Bronze arena. The first is the Duel arena, where battles are fought between players. The second is the Sci-Fan Temple, a battle map that involves characters from the game itself. Each player can gain arena points if they defeat their opponent, and lose points if he loses. At the beginning of the battle, each player's score is 0. The received arena points can be exchanged for exclusive arena cards. The player can get different rewards for his achievements when he gains a certain number of points. The 4 players were in the Bronze arena. It was impressive in size and resembled the Colosseum. The woman offered to place bets of a few coins. Valkyrie resented such a suggestion. The Bastard offered to have some fun and bet more, 100 coins, and started taunting the other men that they didn't even have that. Valkyrie fell for his ruse and genuinely resented the fact that he had, in their opinion, no coins in his wallet. He shrieked that he was betting 200 coins. The Black Card Emperor exhaled doomedly and bet the same way. He thought about his partner Valkyrie, that he was very honest and apparently very confident in his victory. Bastard and Let Me Make a Miracle had already started making plans to quickly defeat their opponents, already mentally dividing the coins they had won and smiling wickedly. They were sure that their opponents were not yet in this arena and would lose to them. Valkyrie and the Emperor looked at each other understandingly, holding a card in each hand. Each of them saw in the other an experienced and worthy player. They were not afraid to lose and were resolutely confident of their victory. The opponents had 5 minutes to reach the battlefield. Bastard and Let Me Make a Miracle arrogantly raised their cards, preparing for a quick battle. The battle had begun. Valkyrie ordered the animals not to spend all their strength at once so that their opponents would not immediately realize their mistake. Also, the more rounds of the battle, the more money the winner will get. Valkyrie's bull and Emperor's valiant bear easily defended themselves against the wild cats, spiders, and red tadpoles of their opponents. Meanwhile, under protection, the other animals were building watchtowers for a better position. When the towers were ready, the Emperor ordered the valiant bears who were there to attack the enemies. The summoned animals of Bastard and Let Me Make a Miracle couldn't even get to the defense line. The animals on the watchtowers would immediately flip them off, destroying them. Meanwhile, the opponents did not expect such a surprise. They were surprised and indignant as they realized that there would be no quick victory. The number of animals Bastard and Let Me Work a Miracle surrounded Valiant Bear and Bull, making their way to the watchtowers and to Valkyrie and the Emperor. The Valiant Bear in the defensive line had exhausted his life force. Slowly it developed in the wind like a sand statue, turning back to its map. The black card Emperor made the decision to use his new card. His lips stretched into a smile. He had another trump card in this battle. He summoned the Little Fishman and the Cannon Follower. In their defense, he released Valorous Bear. In the arena around the Emperor and Valkyrie were already 9 Little Fishmen, ready for battle and awaiting orders from their master. Valkyrie was impressed by such capabilities of his new friend. The cannon follower grabbed the first fish eater he could get his hands on, put it in the cannon instead of the cannonball, and fired the first shot. The small fish bear flew a fireball at the group of opponents. With a large blast of fire, he blew away most of the animals. Valkyrie watched from the sidelines as the spectacle unfolded, noticing that the range and damage were great. He realized it was a green card. With each new launch, Follower Fluff's strength increased, reaching the maximum 100 points, and he upgraded his skill level. The follower was upgraded to 2 stars, and the card was upgraded to a black card with 2 stars. Valkyrie cried out in surprise when he realized that he could improve his attack. But in his opinion, 20 minutes had already passed and it was time to end the fight. So he activated the liquid armor, which surprised his friend. Valkyrie was far from new to the game. He had just been hiding his cards for a long time, so his play was slow. He hoped that the Emperor would have his back in case of trouble. After Valkyrie complained that the game was already taking too long, the Emperor offered him 300 coins if he would go to the field and put on a real show. The man gladly agreed to such a deal. As he entered the battlefield, he confidently threw up his cloak with his hands. He promised everyone the spectacle and that he would act like a confident professional. For his play, he began running around the field in feigned fear of his opponent's strength, shouting that he would lose if he entered the battle. Running into a wildcat, he was killed and all his cards removed from the field. Bastard and Let Me Work a Miracle immediately rejoiced at the small victory. They relaxed as one opponent was killed. Deciding to take advantage of the numerical advantage, they began to attack further. But minutes passed. When another 20 minutes had already passed, they realized that the Valkyries were not retreating or attacking. They did not realize what was happening. As they entered the thick of the battle, they moved calmly and confidently towards the watchtowers. Not once were they caught in the line of fire or under the paw of any animal. As they made their way over, the couple froze in amazement. In shock, they didn't even have anything to say. They saw the Black Card Emperor standing on top of one of the watchtowers, behind the mighty back of Valorous Bear. They resented the man's inaction and not coming out to fight them. They started accusing him of cheating. The Black Card Emperor only scratched the back of his head at these outrages and quietly whispered that they were buzzing like those flies. He decided to tease his opponents, mocking the fact that all of their animals had been killed and they were not summoning new ones. He laughed that such actions were not for the level of the strongest. Enraged by the Emperor's words, the players summoned the animals in anger, intending to tear apart their ridiculous opponent. But after 20 minutes, there were no animals behind them. Only the wind walked around the arena, whipping its currents around them and blowing dry leaves across the arena. Bastard and Let Me Make a Miracle realized that they were on the losing end. Their sour faces clearly showed their thoughts. They were left with no money and no victory, but there was no point in fighting any further. They were extremely displeased with this outcome of the battle. The bastard showed his middle finger in anger and promised to meet the Emperor again and kill him. Tubers of gray and black smoke appeared in their place, filling the space of half of the arena. When the wind dispelled the smoke, the couple was gone. They had left the gaming arena defeated. The Black Card Emperor was pleased with the victory, receiving the arena's reward of 100 coins. He was written to by Let Me Work a Miracle offering to play in the Sci-Fan Temple Arena. The hero noted that he had not played there before, and the woman accused him of cowardice. He agreed to a new fight. The Sci-Fan Temple game arena differed from the duel arena in that there were 4 strong temples in the temple arena that players could join. The name of the temples were Temple of Glory, Temple of Valor, Temple of Serenity, and Temple of the Damned. Each temple had its own weapons and technology. A player could join any temple. If a temple was victorious, the player also won. The player advances to the center of the map, killing various monsters on his way, thus opening new locations, receiving in return progress points and temple rewards. On the map, the Black Card Emperor noticed that the woman was trying to follow his actions. He didn't know if she wanted to study his way of fighting or if he had other plans. He chose the Temple of Tranquility and joined it. The woman, meanwhile, changed hers after his choice. She moved from the Temple of Valor to the Temple of the Damned, placing a bid of 200 coins. This change caused the man to chuckle. The woman either knew about the relationship between the temples, about their certain containment of each other, or she had someone helping her. The woman's 2 assistants, the strongest bastard and the great sage, were meanwhile discussing the chances of winning. The great sage was telling his subordinate the plan that would lead to victory. He was confident that the Black Card Emperor was a mediocre player and would not be a barrier to their victory. Meanwhile, the protagonist was transported to a new location, the peaceful forest. The powerful 100-year-old oaks of the forest were girdled with the green power of life. The man activated his cards and summoned his animals and the cannon follower. An army of sorts appeared around him, ordering them to kill all the monsters of the area to clear their way further to the new location. Gradually, the huge wild bears died from the summoned animals, emitting their last spirit on Earth. He has summoned archers to patrol his hunting lodge. Their primary mission is defense against the enemy. The valiant bears at this time were erecting watchtowers for the same purpose of defense. The strongest bastard and the great sage mockingly watched the man's actions. The former regarded him as a rat, for he was again building watchtowers to keep his enemies out. The great sage showed the battle map. It had 5 rings to the main challenge, the dragon. While playing on it, attacking was important so that there would be progress. He believed that a nub like this would not be able to reach the dragon. They called it the 5 roads of the dragon, but it's actually the 5 rings of the dragon. The one closest to the dragon is the first, and the one farthest away is the 5 rings. You need a green card to pass the 3rd ring. What was Strongest Bastard's surprise when he noticed that the Emperor had already reached the 2nd ring? The Black Card Emperor, along with his team, looked at the forest and tried to remember. He saw something strange in the forest that could be perfect for assassinations. Just then, out of a blue flash of light nearby, a new monster arrived. A huge monster was trying to climb up the slope towards the Black Map Emperor's watchtowers, but his attempts were unsuccessful. The slope was too steep and rocky, and he immediately tumbled backwards under his weight and rolled down to the bottom. The Black Card Emperor was pleased with his favorable position of the watchtowers and calmly watched the monster's new attempts. He ordered the cannon follower to kill the monster so that it would have an increase in attack progress to further progress the game. While the cannon follower was conducting an attack on the monster, the Emperor began to climb the watchtower. Having already climbed the tower, he received a notification that the tower was ready for use. He hoped there were monster appearance points nearby. It would allow him to track them and unlock the temple's new technology. At coordinates 124, 1278, electro slimes began to appear, with which Let Me Create a Judgment had already fought. When killing electro slimes, the player gets plus 20 to progress and a chest with gold coins. But the man was looking through his binoculars at one point he knew. He knew there was a point of objection and waited for the rebirth of a new monster. A notification came to the man that a Capricorn rat appears at coordinates 622, 478. By killing it, the player will unlock the 2nd temple location and also receive a reward of several cards. The man standing on the watchtower ordered the Cannon Lord to kill the Capricorn rat sooner rather than later. The Cannon Lord immediately carried out the order, firing his peculiar cannonball at the rat. He hit his target. The rat screamed as the fire scorched its fur, bringing wild pain. The wind blew the smell of burnt hide. A few more volleys that flew one after another hit the rat's head. The rat's life resource ran out and it was killed. For this, the player received a green card, Capricorn Rat. The rat's corpse turned into a green card that rose into the air and flew into the hands of its new master. The man opened the 2nd location of the temple with the Flying Blade Warrior. The man released her inhabitant from the new map. and at the bottom of the watchtower appeared a large Capricorn rat with red eyes, horns, and an armored tail. He hoped that thanks to the data of the Capricorn rat, she would be able to defeat the dragon turtle without looking at his high level of defense. A battle ensued between the rat Capricorn and the tortoise dragon. Receiving lightning attacks, the dragon was slowly losing strength. He was in a disadvantageous fighting position, for the rat was at the top of a slope he could not climb. And the man was already dreaming of increasing his strength level. After all, there were only 400 times left. The strongest bastard started to doubt Dali's victory, but the great sage assured him that she was leading so far. Especially he thought that the black card emperor was playing like a jerk and it was boring to watch. The strongest bastard asked the great sage to take him to the Fan Temple arena. He asked for an attempt to try and play this game. The sage did not refuse him. The player has received a notification that a Skywalker appears at coordinates 966, 433. By killing her, he can get a random temple technology and a new Skywalker map. The man took 2 green cards and promised them that these coordinates were close to the base and in town he would activate them. A shadow suddenly appeared over his naked body, blocking out the sun. The man looked up calmly, but he certainly hadn't expected what had caused such a shadow to appear. The dragon turtle loomed over him, raised its left paw with a muffled roar, and stepped sharply on the man. The man died. In the Fan Temple arena, players are revived after death after 30 seconds at the starting point of the game. The revival time increases with each death. A man revived near a huge oak tree. The man used the drumming game after revival to recruit the soldiers needed for the game. Moving clockwise, he waited for the announcement to continue hunting monsters. After receiving it, the man ordered his soldiers to attack. An archer shot at the red-haired monster that got in their way. Another warrior slashed with his blades. By killing the Sky Wanderer, the hero has unlocked the Temple of Tranquility's Fire Halo technology. By activating the Fire Halo Tower with it, the attack power of all units specializing in ranged attacks is now increased by 25%. The corpse of the Skywalker turned into a map with a red stream of power, which flew to its now master. Grabbing the card, the man wondered what would come out of the fusion of Skywalker and Capricorn rat. He decided to give it a try. As a result of the synthesis of the 2 green cards, a black card shrouded in red flames fell into the man's hand. He looked at it with anticipation. He immediately decided to test the new card and activated it with his order. The Capricorn cat grew in front of him. Its defense was still weak, in the hero's opinion, but its attack damage had increased, which pleased him. The man followed to his new goal, leading the 2 warriors behind him and the Capricorn cat that loomed over them in a huge shadow. Let me work a miracle, meanwhile. With her sword, she cut the summoned animals in half. Wanting to teach her opponent a lesson for his past victory over them, the man came to the Temple of the Damned, where the barracks building, Tomb of the Undead, was located, which belonged to his adversary. He ordered them to take possession of this building for him, waving his hand imperiously, urging them on. His army attacked the building at once. Each attacked with their own weapons, fire, cannonballs, axes. Let me work a miracle while fighting another monster when I received a notification that the barracks building, Tomb of the Undead, was under enemy attack. She was shocked at this course of action, for her opponent had organized a stealth attack that neither she nor her aides had expected. The man destroyed the barracks building, causing the Temple of the Damned to begin to weaken. The woman was now unable to create and train skeleton warriors and necromancers. This ability would only be restored after killing 60 monsters. Standing in front of the ruined building, she determinedly summoned her animals to find her enemy's base and destroy it. The man stood in front of the large barbarian bear and rejoiced in his prowess, for he had initially strengthened the defense. Activating all his animals, he sent them to attack the barbarian bear. He decided that if he was going to fight, he had to give his best. Bear Barbarian threw a large cube-like piece of wood against the defense and tried to shoulder it further. But Valorous Bear began to repel his attack, holding him back with his paws and destroying the cube. A large ball of earth flew at him, hitting him again and again. The bear roared at the impossibility of answering. He shattered the cube with a roar on his last strength. The orb made the man tense up, for it was larger than he was. The man was looking at it when suddenly there was a sound that announced the movement of the balloon. The ball quickly began to gain momentum, rolling across the ground behind the fleeing man. It pursued him relentlessly, threatening to overwhelm him with its size. The animals and cannon follower attacked the orb, but it remained unharmed and continued on its course. Capricorn Cat didn't have time to dodge the balloon's attack. The balloon ran over the animal with a distinctive sound, driving over it, but continued on its way after the man. The man tried to activate the card on the run, but he lacked the energy to activate it. Nearby on his way, he noticed a body of water with a blue, tantalizing water. The animals were still trying to destroy the balloon, which had not changed at all as a result of the attacks. The man ran to the pond and jumped into the water in one high leap. When the man was completely submerged in the water, the balloon jumped in there too. The balloon began to disintegrate into pieces due to the impact of the large amount of water, revealing the black bear inside. The man had already managed to get out of the water by then. The water had completely dissolved the bear's armor. Then the man decided it was a good time to repeat the attack on him. The barbarian bear has been killed. The player unlocked the Fire Halo technology of the Temple of Tranquility. The Fire Halo Tower was activated, increasing the attack power of all ranged units by 25%. After killing the barbarian bear, the man received his card. It immediately appeared in his hand. He decided to synthesize the new card with the black bear card. He thought that two bears together would make a good shield. The result of the fusion was the Despot Bear, a huge tank, nothing more. The man fused again, this time with Firecat. Fire Panda Despot appeared. The man again decided that it was the same tank with a bad attack level. So he did the fusion again. This time the man was happy with the result. He received a blue card. It was Fire Panda the Water Despot. A blue card with 1 star. The black card Emperor ordered the valiant bears to return to base to build a fortification. He wanted to teach his adversary a lesson. Taking Fire Panda, the Water Despot, and Cannon Follower with him, went to the forest to improve his cannon firing skills. Let Me Conjure has reached the Temple of Tranquility, where the valiant bears have built a line of defense of watchtowers, awaiting her arrival. She pointed dozens of her ginger cats at them. But thanks to the man's discovery of his temple's technology, the arrows flew at the cats, repelling their attack. The woman wondered how he had discovered the temple's technology so quickly. She stomped her foot in her short white boots in anger. The woman ordered her army of undead and necromancers to use all their strength and reach the temple. Undead and necromancers attacked the watchtowers, causing the valorous bears to be perplexed. But then the warrior appeared, cutting through everything in his path with his blades. The archers attacked the attackers, defending their positions, not letting them get to the temple. Let Me Work a Miracle angrily glared at the watchtowers, cursing loudly at the black card Emperor. She put all her efforts into defeating the Emperor, but all was to no avail. The undead and necromancers were defeated. An hour later, Let Me Make a Miracle raised the white flag, accepting their defeat. The black card Emperor received a notification that his opponent was out of the game and he got the win. As a reward, he received arena points and gold coins. The system portaled him back to the secret base. The man was smiling contentedly. Let me work a miracle, she wrote to him in the chat room. She wanted to play again, only on the condition that they change the mode. But the man didn't want to play on her terms. A man deleted his feckless rival from his friends after deeming her too intrusive. He had planned to complete the quest Protect Kasar of the 2nd difficulty level alone. To do so, he decided to synthesize Fire Panda's Water Demon and Savage cards since he hadn't used them yet. The man took the Butterfly Razor card with him and went to battle in the forest with the Jackal of Ashes. It was a huge brown jackal that howled loudly, scaring anyone who heard the sound. When he spotted Razor Butterfly, he began to run towards his new victim, preparing to attack. The Razor Butterfly flapped its wings and launched purple-red streams of arc-shaped power towards the Ashes Jackal. Jackal tried to slip away from those waves, but it was very difficult. The butterfly launched them again and again, filling the space completely with them. The waves cut the victim like a razor. The jackal had no chance to escape. The razors had shredded him, leaving only his heart. The player could give this heart to the healer and be rewarded. The man tried to remember if he gave his heart to the healer, it should open the entrance to the Forest of the Setting Sun quest for him. Putting up his hand, the man offered the butterfly down on it, praising it for its victory and the fact that it remained unharmed. He managed to get through the quest and decided to try the 3rd level quest next time. 3 chests of bounty floated in the air in front of the man. The contents of them pleased the man. Inside was also a map of the granite golem. He wanted to create Dalin later. Valkyrie Lin Yun wrote to him in chat, inviting him to complete the Defense of Kasar quest of the 3rd level of difficulty. The man wrote that he had already been defeated there twice. There were 4 of them in the team: the Black Card Emperor, Meet Me, Get Away, Outside of the Occurrence, and an old acquaintance, Valkyrie Lin Yun. Outside of what was going on, he offered to let the Emperor join one of his 6 teams. But the man preferred to play alone. "Meet me. Get off your feet," suggested the man, add him as a friend. In the course of the conversation, the Black Card Emperor learned that the three had known each other for a long time. "Meet me. Take your feet away" told him that Lin Yun was in charge of armor in the game. He was also in charge of riding. The Black Card Emperor was in charge of summoning, but he didn't understand what Outside of Happening was in charge of. Outside of the event, he joked that he was in charge of team jokes, for which he got a slap on the wrist from Meet Me. "Get out of here." But another man revealed that he's been playing a Nightcat deck lately, and his main battle card is Clay Puppet. The Black Card Emperor motioned to the outcast and told him that he had a recipe for strengthening the clay golem and was willing to sell it for 300 coins. His interlocutor agreed. Outside of Happening immediately sold all the cat cards and brought 300 coins to the Emperor for the prescription. His speed surprised all the men. The Black Card Emperor took the coins and told him the heart of the granite golem could be used to strengthen the clay golem. But Outside of Happening replied to him in tears that he couldn't defeat it. The Black Card Emperor exclaimed joyfully that he was able and willing to sell it for 800 coins, showing off these. Outside of Happening agreed. Out of the Happening began to improve his card, connecting it to the heart he received. He was lucky, which only 5% of players were, because he got a blue granite golem card. The others were dumbfounded by such luck. The Black Card Emperor whispered to the others that the card could only be used from the 9th level. "Meet me. Take your feet away," said to prepare for the quest, took his card in his hands and began to activate it. A man sat on a brown iron bull that was astonishing in its power and size. Valkyrie Lin Yun summoned liquid armor, slinging a large sword on her shoulder. The Black Card Emperor summoned all of his animals and the cannon follower. He contemplated forming a black card squad. The men assured him they would gladly join him. While the animals were hard at work hauling bricks, the men sat on the grass and listened to the Emperor's stories. He told them that at any level of defense, Kasar should kill 10,000 fishmen. He also said that cutting down the trees would help create an invisible barrier that would protect against golem attacks. The men didn't notice how 50 minutes flew by, and without making any effort at all, they passed the quest. They unlocked the 4th difficulty level of the quest. The three men, except for the Black Card Emperor, decided to go kill a couple of monsters to get the Defender of Kasar card. The Black Card Emperor looked at the 4 reward chests that were lying on the checkerboard floor. He wondered what to synthesize this time. He decided to try and combine Deep Sea Weapon, Extinction 2, and Demonic Skyfall. He hoped to get something like Sea Demon or Fire Demon, but his hopes were not to be realized. The man stared at the card in bewilderment. With a wave of his hand, he launched the new card into the air, thus activating it. A huge block of stone materialized from the map and it rumbled to the floor. In that block was an undead mage. The man didn't appreciate the attack's power and speed, despite its spectacular appearance, and decided on another attempt at fusion. He picked up the Big Fish Boar map and the Turtle, Prince map of the East China Sea to synthesize. As a result, he received the card Big Turtle, Prince of Waves. It was a name he liked very much. He wondered what would happen if he synthesized a new card with the one he had received last time. It was the Fire Turtle, the Fallen Prince. There was a fiery explosion as the Fire Turtle, Fallen Prince activated. But this map didn't satisfy the Emperor either. He was distracted by a message from his past team that they were having trouble with the Red Card team. The three men were going to fight the Red Card team 2-on-2 in the arena. The Black Card Emperor tensely clenched his fists and asked him to wait for him. The Red Card team was founded by the Patriarch Yue Baiting. Currently, this team was the strongest team. Taking advantage of the portal, the man arrived on the scene. He proposed a 3x3 arena with him in attendance. The Black Card Emperor heard the intensely familiar voice of a woman who was rejoicing at finally catching him. In front of them stood old acquaintances. The strongest bastard, Let Me Make a Miracle, and the specially important Great Sage. They wanted their money back. Outside of Happening was angered that they had taken advantage of the disguise and wanted revenge. The Black Card Emperor and the strongest bastard exchanged barbs. They were in the waiting room of the Xi-Fan Temple. The Black Card Emperor said that he and Outside of the Occult would quickly solve all the problems with their opponents. A particularly important Great Sage offered to place bets. The three of them bet 8,000 coins. Meet me, get off your feet, and Outside the Box strongly endorsed the idea, saying to bet 1,000 coins. The Black Card Emperor put the last 48 coins in his possession in anger. The three men stared at Valkyrie Lin Yun in anticipation, causing him to tense up. He awkwardly bet 4 coins, for he had no more money. Valkyrie, like the Black Card Emperor, bet the last money. As a result, their bet totaled 2,052 coins. The opponent's bet was 8,000. They moved to the peaceful forest. Outside of the happening, tensely asked the Black Card Emperor how they would fight, for the special Grand Sage had a level higher than theirs. The man assured him of their victory. According to his plan, outside of the happening was to open a portal to the small fishman, then head to the third ring to kill and activate new monsters according to the announcements. The Black Card Emperor estimated that he must be in the north by now. He gave the order to run and explore the road so that they would know where to go. First they explored east, then west. He forbade them to hit mobs. The Black Card Emperor himself, having summoned his animals and the cannon follower, was about to go and attack his opponents. He attacked, "Let me work a miracle." Their animals started fighting amongst themselves. The battle she saw made the woman very tense and nervous. The Black Card Emperor summoned a fire turtle, the fallen prince, which crushed the enemy's animals with its size. The woman, as well as her beasts, were thrown back by the shockwave from the fire turtle's landing. The impact of the fall was deafening. "Let me work a miracle." A portal circle formed around her body. The activation of the portal meant the woman's death. The woman uncorked a vial of green potion, angrily plotting revenge. The woman uncorked a vial of green potion, angrily plotting her revenge. A woman was reborn in the peaceful forest. She wished to find the Black Card Emperor and look at him. But suddenly, the strongest bastard materialized in front of her, much to the woman's surprise. The couple stared at each other in bewilderment. The Emperor received a notification that the electric slime had been activated. This confirmed his hunch that at these levels he could already fight on his own. The man said that this place was not far from the dragon's location point. He thought that the special Grand Sage would rush to this place. He ordered the animals to pay all their attention to him this round. The Black Card Emperor guessed it. The particularly important Great Sage, along with his summoned samurai and a snail, were fighting an electric slime. Engrossed in the battle between his cards and the electric slime, the Great Sage didn't notice the attack. A cannon shell flew into his back, exploding with fire. The Great Sage turned around in anger and saw the Black Card Emperor, and behind his back stood the cannon follower. Slowly, gray smoke was rising from the cannon. The Great Sage laughed evilly at the Black Card Emperor. He accused him of pretending to be a nub, and meanwhile, he himself defeated his two disciples and unexpectedly came first. The Emperor only mocked him. The Great Sage blamed the player's sharp tongue and, summoning the Black Samurai, went on a swift attack against the Black Card Emperor. The Black Card Emperor smiled slyly and picked up a black card. He started running away from the attackers in an unknown direction. The Great Sage began to tensely guess where the Emperor was taking them. He was traveling to the point of the dragon's appearance. The sage thought this was a suicidal move, but continued on his way after him. The brown dragon was astonishing in size. When the Great Sage and the samurai arrived, it was sleeping peacefully, emitting carbon dioxide gas loudly from its large nostrils. The appearance of the Great Sage had a negative effect on the dragon's sleep. He opened his eyes abruptly and growled muffledly. The dragon rose slowly and measuredly from the ground. The dragon slowly and measuredly rose from the ground, and with a roar opened its maw to form a blob of energy from the fire, which it directed threateningly at the arriving man. The Great Sage summoned the animals from his cards. At a wave of his hand, a green mantis, a brown crocodile, a snail with spikes on its shell, and a snake appeared before him. The Great Sage was straining to understand why the red dragon wasn't attacking the Black Card Emperor, even though the latter had appeared earlier. The Black Card Emperor stood behind the Great Sage and smirked. Although the Great Sage had a high level, but he clearly didn't know about the hidden information card. Red Dragon had a hate priority mechanism activated. An activated object after the player that activated the object and the player that didn't activate the object. The Black Card Emperor had asked Valkyrie Lin Yun for a double-sided halberd in a private chat, with the intention of surprising the Great Sage with an unexpected acquisition. The Great Sage turned his head angrily, hoping to find his opponent. He didn't understand where the Black Card Emperor had gone and how he had managed to do it. Suddenly, the Great Sage heard the voice of the Black Card Emperor boldly asking him to turn around. This request made the man nervous. The Black Map Emperor, holding a golden double-edged halberd, enjoying a moment of triumph, attacked the Great Sage. A blue portal formed near the strongest bastard and let me work a miracle, from which the Great Sage rose. The pair stared at him in surprise, for if he was here, it meant only one thing. He had been defeated. The Great Sage was angry that the Emperor had divorced him. He didn't expect the Red Dragon to have such a hate priority. He also asked his disciples why they weren't on the battlefield. As it turned out, they didn't have more mana. The great sage himself only had mana left to resurrect one samurai and summon a snail. He gave up trying to defeat the red dragon and the black card emperor. The great sage, along with a samurai and a snail, came to meet me. Get your feet off, figuring that at least he could beat him. They began to attack, but quite unexpectedly for the great sage, a cannonball flew at them, which served as a loud explosion. Behind them, the black card emperor was approaching with all his summoning beasts, and firing at the enemy was the follower of cannons. The appearance of the black card emperor made the great sage quite furious. All of the man's emotions were clearly reflected on his face. But it didn't take long for the great sage to be outraged as the black card emperor's fist swiftly flew into his jaw. This maneuver resulted in a drop of blood and a quick death. The great sage materialized again in the portal circle, cursing at the feet of his students. "Let me work a miracle," offered to surrender, and the strongest bastard lamented that the red card team couldn't make themselves look like newcomers to the game. The black card emperor and Meet Me. Take Your Feet have been notified that their opponents have surrendered and left the game. This news brought joy to the men and they clapped their hands. The Black Card Emperor has received a message from the strongest bastard about whether he will risk a bet on who will be the first to complete the 5th level of the Protect Kasar quest. The quest Protect Kasar of the 5th level of difficulty had a certain condition. Only players below level 10 could participate in it, but no one had passed that level yet. Now Team Red Card, Team Avengers, and Team Duzon are battling it out to see which of them will make the first kill in the 5th difficulty level of Defend Kasar. The Black Card Emperor decided to participate in this venture. He was confident of his team's victory. The men promised to follow his instructions for their overall victory. They resolutely entered the quest. The Black Card Emperor joked about how they were obligated to show everyone what the deities looked like. Outside of the occurrence, Meet Me, Get Out, and Valkyrie Lin Yun each raised a black card at the same time. 3 clay golems towered before them. It turned out that each of the trio had won. The Black Card Emperor appreciated such possibilities. The man drew a dozen black cards to activate the summoning. He was responsible in this game for moving bricks and strengthening defenses. A group of valorous bears appeared from the maps. Outside of the happening, he was surprised at this number, and the Emperor smiled contentedly at it. The Emperor of the Black Cards got into an argument with the strongest bastard about whichever of the two of them loses this game will be considered a snot to everyone. The Emperor ordered Butterfly Razor, Barbarian, and Dodge to go kill monsters. Dodge was in charge of picking up the rewards from the monsters' deaths. He called Clay Goblin and Panda with him. Valkyrie Lin Yun told the Emperor to complete the gathering tasks as soon as possible and received the agreement from the interlocutor. Valkyrie Lin Yun, Panda, and the 3 clay golems were successfully launching an attack on the fish people advancing from everywhere. Outside the happening, who was on the watchtowers, was actively supporting his comrades. He watched the situation from above, helping to control the situation. The man's eyes widened as he spotted someone on the horizon, which he immediately reported to the other players. Valkyrie Ling Yun, Meet Me. Take Your Feet Away, and the Black Card Emperor, noticing the person their friend was talking about, tensed up quite a bit and prepared themselves for the heavy battle that lay ahead of them. On the horizon, a figure could be seen looming over the players. It was Old Man Shah. This huge shark was hard not to recognize. His red eyes were burning with rage. The Black Card Emperor ordered his team to follow their past strategy and not to worry. The clay golem made a dizzying throw with a large block of stone. This throw promised 3 seconds of vertigo for everyone. Cannonballs flew at Old Man Shah, bursting from his mouth. The fire disorientated the giant shark. The Black Map Emperor ordered the valiant bears to open fire. They launched their axes from the watchtowers at the same time. The axes flew precisely into the target, causing irreparable damage to Old Man Shah. They flew again and again, just like cannonballs. When the attack stopped, the wrinkled angry shark let out a battle cry and ran to its abusers for revenge. Meet Me. Take Your Feet Away. Valkyrie Lin Yun unanimously ordered his clay golems to perform a dizzying throw to once again disorient Old Shah for another attack. Old Shah abruptly froze in place. Raising his eyes, he noticed shells and axes flying at him again. He could only hear the blows one after another. Old Shah Shark Boss's life force was running low. The Black Card Emperor summoned the fire turtle for the final act of the battle. The giant fire turtle landed precisely on Old Man Shah, crushing him under its weight. The players were happily hugging each other as they had completed the Protect Kasar quest of the 5th level of difficulty. This meant that they were the first players in history to accomplish such a feat. A notification came to them, causing the men to give a smug look. A mention of their first pass would be recorded on the announcement panel for the players in the waiting room. The men needed to confirm their names. There were crowds of players in the waiting room, watching others go through the quest. They were placing bets on whether the red card team would win, but their expectations were not to be realized. After all, the black card team was the first to pass, but decided to hide their real names. The players were given the name "Comes When He Wants." The waiting players were shocked at the loss of the painted card team, but they were even more shocked when the scoreboard didn't display the names of the winning players. One man wished them to face a card they wouldn't know how to play and die. The black card emperor rubbed the back of his head thoughtfully with his hand, looking at the new card. At his feet was a puppy named Dodge. The man didn't know how to play this card. The wish of one player in the waiting room had almost come true. It was a transformation card, and this was the first time the black card emperor had heard of such a card. He didn't know what function it fulfilled. Black Wolf Coat card, transformation with 1 star. When using this card, the player gains the Wolf Coat mod. The man, having studied the instructions for this card, confidently and calmly tossed it into the air to activate it. A wolf coat fell into his hands, which he immediately put on. The man appreciated the coat, but it made Dodge tense. When the transformation process was over and the fog from it dispelled, 4 wolf paws descended on the chess floor. The black card emperor turned into a huge wolf, which frightened the puppy. He made the reverse transformation. Dodge tensely began to sniff his master. The black card emperor was excited about the new card, but still didn't understand how the devour skill and hate level worked. The man turned around in surprise when a notification came to him that a new location, the Forest of the Setting Sun, had opened up after completing the quest Protect Kasar. The Forest of the Setting Sun was a mysterious forest where dangers and new opportunities coexisted. Ferocious monsters guarded ancient treasures. Only 1 player out of 100 could see the rising sun in this forest after sunset. The man realized for what purpose he needed that wolf coat, for in this quest a royal assassination was being carried out. While the black card emperor was exploring the forest, the number of players was increasing. 69 out of 100. The royal assassination involved killing the black card emperor and taking possession of the throne. When all quest spots were filled, the system announced the start of the game. The black card emperor, upon receiving notification of the game's start, activated his transformation into a wolf. While walking through the forest as a wolf, he noticed that most of the monsters he encountered along the way didn't even try to attack him. He could calmly lie in this form in the grass as other quest players walked by. The players did not see his actual body. Moving through the forest, the black card emperor littered a bizarre treasure chest in the tall grass. The large chest was covered in blue crystals and beckoned to the man. The wolf's eyes filled with admiration and desire to possess. He thought the chest was incredibly beautiful and didn't understand why the equipment and weapons were outside. As he continued his quiet observation, the wolf noticed that 2 players had approached the chest. They started arguing about who the chest belonged to and wanted to start fighting over it. But there was a cracking noise of an unknown nature. The chest opened and revealed its mouth with long and sharp fangs. With a single movement, he swallowed the gawkers into himself. Only their cries of surprise and despair could be heard. After that, the chest licked itself with 2 long red tongues. He rejoiced at the 3 successful kills. More were added to the gear and weapons around him. The black card emperor, in the form of a wolf, stared at the chest in surprise. He realized that this chest was also a player. It turns out that if he had a wolf coat, some other player could have a treasure chest transformation card. The man came up with a plan about attacking the chest. The wolf slowly and quietly approached the treasure chest from behind as he squinted his red eyes contentedly. Once at a close enough distance to the target, the wolf overcame it in one leap and pounced on the victim. The wolf opened its jaws, revealing a perfect row of fangs, and slowly and surely began to devour the chest. The chest did not have time to fight back, for he had not expected an attack from the beast. When the chest was already in the wolf's stomach, thus enlarging his belly a lot, the man heard strange sounds inside himself. He looked at himself in surprise. The wolf realized that something wrong was happening. The following events caused the wolf to crouch fearfully to the ground and whimper pitifully. After devouring the treasure chest, he could still use the cards. And there were summoned animals towering in front of the wolf. The wolf sprang up with all his paws to run away. In an attempt to evade his pursuers, he scrambled under a low-lying tree and puzzled over the reason why he could not use his cards and fight back. The wild cat managed to catch up to the black card emperor, and with a quick swipe of its paw, it slapped him hard on the muzzle, causing him to howl. He managed to break away again. The man already realized that he might lose, but he didn't want to leave the new card in the secret forest. And it was after that thought that a plan of action came to him. The wolf went to the pack of other wolves of different colors and to the green dragon that guarded the throne. The black card emperor wanted to find a beast like him. As soon as the green dragon noticed a beast or another player approaching it, it would immediately direct a jet of green flame at it. Not a single player survived after that. The black card emperor watched from the sidelines, studying the circumstances and carefully thought out his plan of action. He was no longer going to give up. The black card emperor's hunch was confirmed when he visually saw that in the form of a wolf, he was unaffected by the dragon or the other wolves that guarded the throne. The wolves digested their prey while the black card emperor quietly and carefully crept between them towards his cherished goal. The transformed wolf was lying at the feet of the green dragon when an announcement appeared. It said that the power of the setting sun had appeared, and the player who would take the throne in 20 minutes would automatically win and receive all the rewards of the forest of the setting sun. The emperor, in the form of a wolf, lay down on the grass and waited. He looked dreamily at the night sky, where the full moon appeared from behind a cloud, illuminating everyone in the forest. The other members of the quest at this time were engaged in a fierce struggle for the right to own the throne. The wolf noticed one girl unnoticed by the other players, turning into a small white rabbit in a matter of seconds. The black card emperor enthusiastically ahead. He was right. The other players had also gained the ability to transform. Newly introduced cards appeared in the game. The green dragon burned anyone who tried to get to the throne and take it. The player who was in the battle with the others started shouting that while they were fighting each other, time was running out and none of them would take the throne. The black card emperor was not happy about the call to fight the monsters. Hidden in the thick bushes, he watched the situation, grumbling to himself. In the last 20 seconds, there were only 3 players alive out of 100. Time was not on the black card emperor's side. A small white rabbit noticed the announcement and jumped out of the neighboring bushes. In 3 quick hops, he crossed the space between them and the throne. At the last moments, the rabbit began to celebrate his victory. But his joy was short-lived. Before he could jump on the throne, he was snatched by a red wolf. He swallowed the hair, thinking that it was the black card emperor since it had been chasing him for a long time. This red wolf was also a player that had obtained a transformation card. While the red wolf was engrossed in his victory, another wolf came up behind him. This wolf was the black card emperor. When he noticed that his opponent was self-congratulatory and didn't notice anyone around him, he smirked. The black card emperor swallowed his opponent in one deft movement, opening his wolf mouth wide. No more players stood in his way to the throne. At the last seconds, he jumped onto the throne and let out a victorious howl. The power of the rising sun was approaching. The black card emperor was the last survivor and received the treasures of the forest. Large chests were pointed towards his hall. The man opened one of the chests and whistled contentedly. All the treasures of the forest had gone to him alone. He liked the cards that were in the reward chests. He decided to try to synthesize them with Fire Turtle and Panda. As a result of the synthesis, he received a new card called Panda Extinguish Pan. This card required the card that the player had just received to strengthen it. Reinforcing his new card, the man decided to attempt the forest of the setting sun again. The black card emperor moved to the sunset sun forest without a moment's hesitation. The man picked up the Mystic Egg mystery card. He wanted to look at it and see what it represented. He had read that the type of animal that would hatch from that egg was directly dependent on the incubator. He decided to try each animal in turn. The man had a crazy idea. He wondered if the green dragon could hatch if he was the incubator. But his dreams were not to be realized. The egg threw him face down. The black card emperor sprawled on the ground and sighed in doom. The man decided to do a couple more card synthesis. If anything, he planned to go find the green dragon to be the incubator afterwards. By synthesizing a Spriggan Spiny and Changeable Hydralis card, the player got a Werewolf Snake card. The man was shocked by another transformation card. The black card emperor decided to try and use the new card as bait. Turning back into a wolf, the black card emperor rolled the egg under the green dragon's barrel with his nose. The dragon slept peacefully and did not notice that he had become an incubator. The little green dragon needed to wait for 3 minutes to be born. The man decided to try the werewolf snake card in the meantime. As soon as the man lost his wolf form, he was surrounded by wild wolves. The black card emperor quickly drew a new card and began his transformation into a beauty. The man realized that after the transformation, he had become half monster and now the wild beasts would not attack him. But the assumptions of the man in the form of a girl were not destined to come true. As soon as he transformed, the red wolf shot flames from its mouth at him. Running away from the chase and fire, the Black-Card Emperor surmised that the animals smelled the spirit of the serpent in him and they didn't care for it. The fire almost caught up with the girl, illuminating her light-colored clothes, but at the last moment a barrier rose up behind her. This obstacle was 3 times the height of the Red Power Girl. The girl was grabbed by an unknown guy's hand and led her running. He explained that this obstacle was caused by the invincible red card. He turned to the Black-Card Emperor and said contentedly that the numbers matched. He reckoned that the girl was from the red card team, so he helped her. The man introduced himself as a member of the red card team, Invincible Yu Wo. He said that he hadn't met the girl before, and if she needed help in the future, she could call him in the group chat. Also noted that Han Neveret was also here this time. Invincible Yu Wo brought the girl to the company that consisted of 6 men, joyfully saying that he had met a newcomer girl. As they greeted each other, the Black-Card Emperor noted to himself that being a female player was pretty good. Every man was happy to see her, offering to help. Yu Wo told the girl to wait a bit for the other team players. Han Neveret, he said, was masquerading as a red jackal. The man pointed his finger at the animal and muttered that they were all responsible for his cover. He asked the girl what card she had. The girl flapped her eyes in embarrassment and said that she had run out of glasses, so she only had swamp slime. The invincible Yu Wo assured her that it was okay and he would look after her. When the rest of the team arrived, the man went with them on the mission. He made an appointment to meet the girl at the door of the team's warehouse and promised to wait for their meeting. The Black-Card Emperor snorted contemptuously. He regarded his new acquaintance as a shallow fool who hit on every girl he could find. Other quest players were attacking the Red Jackal, but to no avail. With every minute of the game, there were fewer and fewer players. In the end, there was only Han Neveret in the guise of the Red Jackal and the Black-Card Emperor in the guise of a girl. The Red Jackal, walking up to the throne, growled loudly. He had seen another wolf in the game before, but he didn't notice it nearby now. Suddenly, a cannonball whistled through the air, flying straight at the Red Jackal. There was an explosion that killed the big jackal. The Black-Card Emperor stood beside the cannon follower and looked at the work of his hands with satisfaction. Victory was once again in his hands. The Emperor, in the guise of a girl, sat on a golden throne. A small green dragon landed on his shoulder. The man decided that since they had received an invitation, it would be worth it to point the red card team. Holding out a thin female hand on which a blue butterfly with letters instead of wings landed, the man noted that only crew members could enter the base. But this magnificent messenger butterfly could present him with an opportunity to enter. He had, fortunately, recently synthesized it. A maiden's foot stepped onto the chess floor of the red card team base. Already a familiar man rejoiced at her arrival. A messenger butterfly hovered at his shoulder. The girl took off her white snake mask before coming. She reasoned that the messenger butterfly had come because she was afraid of not finding a new friend. But since she had found one, she wanted to take her back, for there was nothing important there. The other men in the room turned round sharply when they heard the woman's voice. They looked at the girl in excitement. After all, girls were a rarity in the game. Everyone offered their help to the new girl, but then the conversation stopped. This made the Black-Card Emperor turn around as a girl entered the room behind him. With her appearance, there was a feeling of mute adoration from all the members of this team. The Black-Card Emperor also stared at the newcomer with admiration. She was a very beautiful girl with long pink hair. She approached the Black-Card Emperor and offered to team up, calling him sister. At that, the girl put her hand on his face and stroked his cheek, which was very embarrassing. The man in the form of a girl stared at the girl in mute bewilderment. His eyes glistened with delight and his cheeks flushed. The girl Black-Card Emperor said that her name was Lin Yun. This lie somewhere made the real Valkyrie Lin Yun sneeze at being recalled by someone. The girl who had come began to promise the Emperor that as soon as her level increased, but it was not fated to find out what would happen next. The Emperor of the Black Cards poked his interlocutor in the belly with a gently feminine finger. This caused her to yelp, interrupting her monologue. The Black-Card Emperor languidly offered to continue their fascinating conversation another time. The girl was surprised at such a suggestion. She didn't understand what was preventing them from chatting now. But the Black-Card Emperor assured her that there was no time and he had urgent business to attend to. The pink-haired girl only smiled understandingly and remarked that her recent interlocutor was a very interesting girl. A man was walking in a wolf coat through the neighborhood of the forest. He was following the system player Red Riding Hood, who was picking mushrooms according to the scenario. The man hesitated for a moment. The instructions for the wolf pelt stated that it was possible to absorb not only the players, but also the players of the system. He was going to test it on Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood smiled at the man and asked him if he had heard the legend of the wolf that roamed the neighborhood. The girl called the man Brave Adventurer. The Black Card Emperor looked around and replied that no one was around and activated his transformation into a wolf. But the little girl wasn't scared at all. She immediately turned into the legendary Hungry Wolf Wolf, who swung into action. A fight ensued between Black Card Emperor Wolf and Wolf Wolf. They beat each other with their paws. The Black Card Emperor realized that the girl's red cloak was indeed a transformation item. He bit down on Wolf Wolf's big black head. The Wolf Emperor of the Black Card swallowed his opponent and sat contentedly on the lawn until his victim began to fuss in his belly, but that didn't last long. A man received a notification that he had killed a legendary wolf and received a hidden mission, increased his progress by 25%. He also received a green card with 5 stars, Legendary Hungry Wolf Wolf. A man has been given the book Legend of the Hungry Wolf. If he gives this book to the Yin City Healers Association, he will get a reward. And he got a hidden mission. He summoned the legendary Wolf Wolf and regarded his red cloak draped over his shoulders. It was the cloak of suppression. After his words, the wolf transformed into a little girl. The girl noted that she was now at the service of her master. The Black Card Emperor decided to familiarize himself with the proposed book. He wanted to find possible clues there. In the book, it was written that Wolf was a vegetarian who liked to eat mushrooms the most. For this reason, the other wolves drove him out of the pack. He was lucky because he met the kind Red Riding Hood. But the ignorant villagers of the neighboring village did not know that Wolf was a vegetarian and tried to kill him. Little Red Riding Hood tried to stop them, but they attacked her. Wolf lost his best friend and became furious. He killed all the villagers, put on Red Riding Hood's cloak, and turned into her. After finishing the story, the Black Card Emperor sat down on the floor and propped his chin up with his hand. He found no clues. At that moment, a letter from outside of the happening flew to him. He said that he had reached level 10 and was going to choose the card synthesis skill. The Black Card Emperor went to a friend's house. The man was lying on a sun lounger by the sea, enjoying the breeze and the warm rays of the sun. He still chose the card synthesis skill. Outside of happening told him that if you synthesize cards that start with the word eat, you can get food. He demonstrated a large lobster to a friend. The Black Card Emperor said that this was a good business and you could sell the synthesized cards. The Black Card Emperor, while eating a lobster, told a comrade to try to synthesize cards with the word inventory, hoping to get something useful. An idea struck the man. The word lobster has the hieroglyph for dragon in it. He wondered where outside the event had got these lobsters. Outside of happening waved at a beach nearby. There were Kamchatka crabs and lobsters too. The Black Card Emperor summoned the valiant bears, built watchtowers, and attacked the Kamchatka crabs and lobsters. Players passing by marveled at such a thirst for killing crabs and lobsters. They didn't understand why they had to build watchtowers for this purpose. When all the crabs and lobsters in the area had been defeated, the Black Card Emperor was holding a large number of newfound cards. He laughed at the bewilderment of the other players. The man began to synthesize the cards he had received. He came across an alveolar crab and didn't know what to do with it. Frustrated by the failed synthesis, the man decided to give this card to Out of the Way. He performed the synthesis over and over again. But each time his attempt failed and the man got nothing good. When he had only the last 2 cards left, the man was already exhausted from the number of attempts. He hadn't expected that nothing would work for him. There was one last attempt left. His amber eyes opened wide in surprise as he stared at the map he had received. The last attempt had been successful. He had received the Stegosaurus Swan card. Having activated the card, the player was jubilant. After all, a huge red dragon of snake-like shape was flying above him. It was a flying monster made of metal. The monster possessed a remote attack, and the Emperor wanted to synthesize the same card for reinforcement. A little later, the Black Card Emperor watched the kite that he lowered into the water and could not admire its beauty. The flying monster spewed out ghost energy chi and activated a ghost wave every 3 seconds. The man decided that it was a sin not to show off such a handsome monster to others. He opened up the Arena Challenge Mode scoreboard. In this mode, a player could show his cards to other players and they could challenge him. If he won, the player received coins, but also increased his card power. Meanwhile, the pink-haired girl from the red card team learned that 10 Stegosaurus Swam cards had recently appeared and dropped all of their team's cards from the rankings. The men around her asked her to return their spots in the rankings. The girl agreed to help her team. She bet 5 coins and challenged the Stegosaurus Swam. Yue Baiting was transported to the arena where the flying monster was already towering in front of her. It growled threateningly because of her appearance. Such a greeting did not frighten the girl, and she summoned her Red Bigfoot Daniel for battle. Red Bigfoot Daniel jumped high and tried to strike his opponent in the face with his wooden club. But the dragon didn't hesitate and launched a sword of ghost energy chi at him. The energy pierced through Bigfoot again and again. The dragon's attack speed would increase until it reached its maximum. Red Bigfoot swung his baton again to strike, but the dragon performed an aerial unit. This maneuver caused the opponent to strike the metal hull with his baton without damaging the dragon. Stegosaurus Swam wrapped his muzzle in flight and opened his mouth to launch a multitude of energy swords at Bigfoot, which were impossible to dodge. Red Bigfoot Daniel, pierced by energy, could not withstand the attack and died. He turned into a card and returned to the hands of his disgruntled mistress. The watching men of Team Red Card were surprised that their matriarch might be losing. They debated whether this was a tactic, and the Black Card Emperor, in the guise of a girl, stood behind them and laughed. The matriarch of Team Red Cards has released the next card, Plasma Spy, into the arena. It was a large monster that consisted of flames and armor that gave an outline to its ephemeral body. He launched a jet of fire at the dragon. Stegosaurus Swam flew up, hiding from the fire, in response launching his ghost energy chi swords at his opponent. The man from the red card team, standing beside the black card emperor, wondered why their matriarch had released such a weak card for battle. After all, the savage card wasn't particularly strong either. Plasma. Spyro couldn't withstand the flying monster's attack and returned to his mistress in the form of a card. But that didn't upset the matriarch. She laughed. The Black Card Emperor heard her laugh and was very surprised. In his opinion, laughter was inappropriate in such cases. The girl summoned a new card. It was a card with 9 stars, Boiling Blood, the greatest turner evil. She'd had a trump card up her sleeve all along. A battle ensued between the monsters in the arena. The dragon launched swords of energy at his opponent, but his opponent had 4 pairs of paws. And he had a saber in each paw. He quickly destroyed the energy. The Black Card Emperor's face changed when he saw the matriarch's 3rd card. Although Stegosaurus could fly, its climbing height was limited. The man guessed that the girl had used those 2 weak cards to get all the data about his Stegosaurus Swam, Boiling Blood. The greatest turner evil swiftly moved his arms, creating an energy stream with his sabers that struck the flying monster's head and nailed it to the ground. As the dragon stood up and began to gather phantom energy, his opponent once again began to land a multitude of blows on him. The Black Card Emperor card had returned to him, as player Yue Baiting had won this battle. Her team members cheered when they met her. Their matriarch had won. They shouted that this black card was nothing compared to their team's red card. The men whispered that this was expected from the matriarch of the red team and that they weren't even close to her. The Black Card Emperor only shook his head, thinking them chatterboxes. Yue Badin approached the Black Card Emperor, who stood before her in the form of a girl. The matriarch noted that the girl disagreed with such statements from the men and asked if she too had a black card. She offered to play, to which the emperor agreed. The girls moved to the unlimited flame power arena. Yue Baiting joked that she shouldn't give in to her because she looked like a delicate cornflower. The Black Card Emperor mentally called her a corpse lily. The pink-haired girl swept the cards, starting the battle. She noted that if her opponent felt she wasn't strong enough, all she had to do was say the word and they would stop at any moment. The emperor, in the form of a girl, raised black cards and gambled that it was unclear who wouldn't have enough strength. Yue Baidan summoned her previous 3 cards and the Emperor of Valor Meddlesome, Panda, and Follower of Cannons. The Cannon Follower launched a cannonball at the Plasma Spy, which served as a kind of trigger to start the fight. The Black Card Emperor stood at the watchtowers and thought about the fact that he must not let the enemy near them. The battle line must be as far away from them as possible, for it threatened to lose to the man. The man had an idea. If his gunner upgraded before the enemy approached the watchtowers, he had a chance to win that round. He ordered the cannon follower to shoot at the opponents over and over again to quickly gain the necessary points to raise his strength level. After a while, the cannon follower improved his skills, and accordingly his cannon became better, noticeably bigger and more powerful. Taking aim, the cannon follower shot at Daniel's Red Bigfoot. There was a large explosion. Red Bigfoot Daniel couldn't withstand such a powerful shot, his life force running out. The Black Map Emperor was happy with this outcome of the battle. He planned to shoot at least one more. The Red Bigfoot card returned to the owner's hands. The Black Card Emperor suddenly noticed that the girl had no mana left. Yue Baiting decided to give one piece of advice to her opponent. She said that although the skills of most summoned beasts were automatically determined, there were cards created through special channels that could be commanded to use other skills. After that, the girl poked 2 fingers forward, activating some skill, and said it was the "I'm a mummy here" skill. A large yellow fist formed above the plasma Spyro, showing the Black Card Emperor a middle finger. After this outburst by the matriarch of Team Red Card Team, her opponent ordered the Valiant Bears to open fire with axes. The cannon follower became active again and began cannonballing his opponents. One cannonball hit the Plasma Spy, but the matriarch's third summoned beast remained alive and ran towards the opponent. The Black Card Emperor angrily realized that the girl had the skill of attracting hatred. Yue Baiting joyfully called out to her nag and ordered him to attack her little sister, who she thought was the Black Card Emperor in the form of a girl. The Black Card Emperor ordered Fire Panda to stand in his defense, but the enemy easily defeated Fire Panda. There was no obstacle between the opponent's summoned animal and the Black Card Emperor. The animal struck a couple of saber blows and the Black Card Emperor was out of the game. A man was sitting on a sun lounger under a large umbrella on the beach. Nearby, palm trees were growing, the sea was sounding, and the outside man was urging other players to buy lobsters and crabs. The Black Card Emperor looked at the sky unhappily. The pink-haired girl was indeed the matriarch of the Red Card Team. The man recalled that when Yue Baiting won, she came up to him sitting on the ground. She told him that she felt that the Emperor in the guise of a girl was hiding something, and that he wasn't so shy in the beginning. The matriarch of Team Red Card ducked down and took the girl by the chin. She asked again to remind her of her name. The man was lying in the shade and resenting the fact that he should not fall in love with a beauty, because as a result, he would get the best of her. The man was lying in the shade and was complaining that he should not fall in love with a pretty girl, because you would get the full brunt of it. Outside of the happening assured him that they had only recently formed a team and shouldn't be upset about failures. Also yesterday, a pretty girl traded him a lobster for some secret scroll. He offered to look at it. The Black Card Emperor took the scroll in his hands and unfolded it in surprise. It was indeed a secret scroll. Outside of what's happening, he replied that the girl was a good one. The scroll wrote that the Lobster Soldier, Elder Turtle, Crown Prince, Dragon Lady, and Dragon King make up the Dragon Palace deck. After the player collects them all, then they will guard him from all sides. There was what is called a blank deck, which is designed to collect all the cards of a certain group, which binds them together. For example, in a deck of 9 Midnighters, as long as at least one of them is alive, the others will not die. The Black Card Emperor thought for a moment. It's not that these cards have never been seen, these cards have never even been heard of. He wondered if they could be synthesized. The man stood up resolutely and told outside the happening that he would go to the shore to try to work the cards. The Black Card Emperor made an ironclad promise to himself that he would definitely synthesize a card that would defeat Yue Baiting. He summoned the Valiant Bears, built watchtowers, and attacked the lobsters and crabs again. When he had several stacks of cards, he decided to try to synthesize Lobster Soldier. As a result of the synthesis, he obtained 2 cards, the Lobster Soldier Xiao Ding and the Crab General. The cards each had 3 stars. There was no suitable name for the rest of the cards yet, and he decided to wait for a while. He received letters from outside the event. The man wrote that he had been robbed. The Black Card Emperor immediately went to his comrade's aid. When he arrived on the scene, he noticed a large crowd of players surrounding his friend. They argued that outside the happening had to get permission to trade with the Dove team. Outside the happening assured him that he had paid for the booth, to which the men started smashing his belongings, shouting that he should have paid for their defense. The man got angry at this behavior of the men. He threw them in anger that even if he had money, there was no way he would give it to a bunch of stupid nudists. The commander of Team Dove immediately transformed into his usual appearance. Now he was no longer in his underwear, but in his armor. He wanted outside of the happening to risk going into the arena with him. He said that he would not and that they should not interfere with his earnings. The Dove commander noticed that the man was from the Black Card Team. He joked that he had never heard of such a team. In his opinion, a coward like outside the happening should only be on a team with no accomplishments. This angered the man and he agreed to enter the arena. A sword of ghost energy chi flew near the Dove commander's hand, causing him to tense up and abruptly let go of the beyond happening. The Black Card Emperor approached the group of men, a flying monster behind him. The man introduced himself as the commander of the Black Card team and asked if there were any problems. The group of tense men stared at him. The commander of Team Dove spat out angrily that the Emperor was a show-off. Outside of happening was tearing into the arena, but his commander had decided that he was the one who would go. The commander of Team Dove, standing in the arena surrounded by large black cats, offered his opponent to surrender. According to his plan, he would only take 70% of out of the happening's income each month. The Black Card Emperor threw in that his opponent should surrender and apologize to his sibling, for which he would reluctantly spare him. Team Dove's team commander ordered his cats to attack Team Black Card's team commander. The flying monster opened its mouth and released energy swords that flew into the pack of cats. The swords pierced through the black bodies of the cats. But one cat survived and with its ultrasound resurrected its team. They got up one by one. The commander of the Dove team ordered them to gnaw on the man. But suddenly, a small green dragon appeared near the Black Card Emperor. The newly arrived beast surprised the man greatly. He didn't realize where the Black Card Emperor had got the dragon from. The Black Card Emperor, floating in the air thanks to the dragon's power, showed his middle finger to his opponent and asked if he had guessed where the baby came from. This move infuriated his opponent more. He vowed to smear the Black Card Emperor in a rage. The Black Card Emperor smugly assured the man that the baby dragon was an angel. And apparently the man had never seen one. He was preparing his opponent for something worse. The man felt there was no longer any need to hide all the trump cards from his pesky adversary. Therefore, the head of Team Black Card took out a card and fire streamed upwards from it, which served as the appearance of the Fire Panda. Fire Panda materialized near the crowd of cats, brought her fiery fist and struck. Only one cat managed to escape the epicenter of the fire alive. But then Stegosaurus Swam flew to Fire Panda's rescue and launched a sword of ghost energy chi at this cat. The team leader of the pigeon team had lost. The loss made his shoulders droop, his spirits fade, and the pigeon that sat on his shoulder repeated how worthless his master was. Outside of happening proudly admired his commander. After all, the enemy now knew how powerful his commander was. Such flattery was pleasing to the Black Card Emperor. The Black Card Emperor, noticing the displeasure of his defeated opponent, remarked that if he still had doubts, he could offer him a new fight. Suddenly, the men heard the voice of the matriarch of the Red Card team during their altercation. The girl thought that the girl she knew, Lin Yun, was the commander of the Black Card team and she wanted to talk to her. The Black Card Emperor stared at the girl in surprise. He didn't understand how she got there. The man thought that she was even more powerful than the businessman in Manhwa. Outside of what's happening asked the girl what reason she was looking for Lin Yun. The girl asked to call for her named Sis, for she had hidden after her loss in the arena. Outside of what's happening started to question why his friend had become a girl. But the Black Card Emperor held him by the shoulder in time and coughed. The Emperor said that he was quite close to Lin Yun and the matriarch could address him. Yue Baiting was surprised at such a suggestion. The man behind her back poked his finger at the Black Card Emperor and said that he knew him. He called him the pervert who was groping the angel's thighs in the main hall. After his words, the man realized that he couldn't be with the matriarch together now. After all, she thinks that he is molesting Lin Yun. He's now too spoilt in Yue Baiting's eyes. The Red Card matriarch was outraged at this corruption of the Emperor and said she was now obligated to save her little sister. She summoned the Dragon of Bloodshed. From her red card, a large dragon that had 4 eyes, powerful horns and wings appeared with red lightning. The Black Card Emperor snatched his card in response and told outside of the event not to chicken out, but to go find someone to help. Out of the event agreed and said that he would have to ask Lin Yun how this crazy woman could have been provoked. This crazy woman shouted furiously that she wanted to save her little sister Lin Yun from the clutches of the Black Card Emperor. The Bloodshed Dragon flew towards the man with an arrow to attack. But suddenly, the Fire Panda blocked his path, holding him down with one paw. Noticing this, Yue Baiting ordered her dragon to take off and continue her attack. When the dragon was in the air, the man decided it was time to use the sledgehammer of revenge. Fire Panda slammed his fist hard against the ground, and a column of powerful energy rose from it, piercing the dragon. The dragon calmly floated onwards after the attack. The man decided that the Bloodshed Dragon could most likely decrease vitality and increase attack power. The man didn't know any other reason for the girl's calmness. The bloodshed dragon opened its mouth wide and began to gather fire energy. This skill was called dragon breath. It spewed out a large amount of fire, causing the man to recoil from the fire panda. Behind him, the Black Map Emperor heard the voice of the commander of the Dove team he had recently defeated. The newcomer wished to help the matriarch of Team Red Card kill a man he also believed to be a pervert. The Black Card Emperor turned around and angrily remarked that this was the most opportune moment for this man's revenge. Fire Panda sheltered his master from the attack of a pack of wild cats, but they still almost got him when he wanted to call more animals to help him. The Black Card Emperor was saved by a large golden elephant that sheltered him from the attack of the cats. The rider of the elephant shouted that no one should try to touch his master. What he saw gave the Emperor a great shock. The Black Card Emperor was surprised that his friend had called him Mr., to which he remarked that it sounded very cool. The Emperor of the Black Cards was surprised that his friend called him Master, to which he remarked that it sounded very cool. Team Black Card's team commander pointed at Team Dove's team commander and told his mate that he was leaving it to him. The man himself went to meet Yue Baiting. The man jumped on his flying monster and ordered it to fly to the kiosks on the coast where Out of the Origin had been earlier with his synthesized goods. Yue Baiting decided that the man was trying to get away from her, which she wasn't ready to accept like that. She saddled her dragon and ordered it to fly in pursuit. The bloodshed dragon released a multitude of red lightning bolts from its mouth, bloody heavenly nets. But the Black Card Emperor's flying monster easily dodged the attack, maneuvering its flexible body in the blue sky. The matriarch of Team Red Card pointed her summoned beast at its victim again, and it let dragon breath flow. The dragon's breath reached the Black Card Emperor and his beast, frying them badly. Because of this, the flying monster fell to the ground with a thunderous crash. The girl stood in front of the Black Card Emperor. She was ordering him that once he surrendered, let him never approach Lin Yun again. The flying monster returned to the map in its master's hands. The players were standing on the beach by the water. The man assured the girl that this time, if she didn't get out of here, it wouldn't be him who would have to give up. The Black Card Emperor activated the card in his hands. The resulting flash blinded the girl for a moment, causing her eyes to squint. She was greatly surprised at what her opponent had summoned. The man summoned a large iron bogey. The girl stared at it. She was sure he was summoning some powerful beast. To which the Black Card team commander only laughed, grabbed his cart, and ran quickly towards the water. He shouted that the girl should not underestimate his bogus cart. Yue Baiting stared doubtfully at the running man. The girl thought that he was not only a pervert, but also a jerk. The bloodshed dragon flew after the man, activating his powers. The Black Card Emperor was only a few meters away from the water, as the girl ordered her summoned beast to use the bloody sky nets. There was a large explosion. The place where the man had been burst into flames. But the Black Card Emperor wouldn't give up so easily. He miraculously jumped out of the puffs of smoke with a cart. With a wave of his hand, he released another black card into the air to activate it. The girl was surprised to notice that the man could run on the sea. In the meantime, the Fire Panda was on the cart, which activated the forces to strike. The dragon that soared overhead in the air was hit by the power of the Sword of Revenge, which pierced through it. The dragon lost its life reserve after such a blow, and its huge carcass fell into the water, causing strong waves and a loud splash. The man continued his run through the water. He rather thought about the fact that the synthesized cart was really easy to drive. But unfortunately for him, it couldn't fly. The man believed that this time he would win. The bloodshed dragon emerged from the column of water in front of the man. The living beast was an unpleasant surprise to the Black Card Emperor. The girl, standing on the back of her beast, shouted angrily that she hadn't lost yet. She activated the seal with her hand and ordered the dragon to launch hellfire at the man. The Black Map Emperor stared at the dragon perplexed, for he had just killed it. How surprised he was to see it resurrected. The flame that the dragon let out didn't go out. It wouldn't go out, even though it was on the water. The man decided to fight on the sea to defend himself against the blood-boiling and plasma spy girl, but he didn't expect that the bloodshed dragon could create such fire. The cart overturned due to strong waves, causing the man to fall into the water. Drowning, he noticed that the dragon's flames were burning not only on the water, but also in the water. He had to hurry and get out of there or he would die. The man ducked out and hid behind his cart and began to plot his plan of action. He could use Stegosaurus and the cannon to attack in the air, but he needed the cart for the cannon, and the flying monster wouldn't last long. The dragon began releasing fire at his defenses. The man still didn't know what to do. He could summon the real Lin Yun and explain that this was one big misunderstanding. The man looked at where the real Lin Yun was, thanks to the map. His friend was fighting in the arena with an unknown player. Valkyrie Lin Yun slashed his opponent's baton, defeating him and winning this fight. The Black Card Emperor nervously asked his friend why he wasn't hiding. Valkyrie answered him that sometimes sacrifices must be made. If he hid, wouldn't that mean he had lost? The matriarch of Team Red Card towered over the cart and waited for her opponent to appear. She nodded dismissively that he was a coward after all. A force erupted from the bottom of the cart that materialized into a flying red monster of the Black Card Emperor. Stegosaurus launched his swords at the girl. The bloodshed dragon, protecting its mistress, responded by throwing a ball of hellfire at the flying monster of the enemy. Stegosaurus could not withstand such an attack and turned back to his master. A small green dragon was flying at the man's shoulder, and a water tornado was swirling on the other side of him. The Black Card Emperor boldly asked if the girl liked playing with fire. His eyes burned with the fire of determination and lust for victory. He came up with a plan. Tornado headed for the dragon. The bloodshed dragon couldn't handle the water elemental. The girl tensely noticed that the Stegosaurus's attack was just a distraction for the Black Card Emperor. The wind that had risen from behind the water tornado was pulling the dragon and its rider into its epicenter of emergence. When the dragon was inside the tornado, he saw that Fire Panda was underneath it on a bogus cart, and she activated the Sword of Vengeance. The dragon that had been hurt by Fire Panda's paws tried to flee the scene to heal his wounds. The man rather rhetorically asked if the boss of Team Red Card wanted to play catch-up with him. The Black Card Emperor summoned the cannon lord that had stationed himself on a prop-shaped cart and fired a mighty shot. The girl, hearing a loud sound behind her, turned around sharply, opening her eyes in fright. There was a large fire mushroom on the water from the explosion. The other players that were watching the battle on the beach upon seeing the explosion wondered if it had killed Yue Baiting. The girl was a 35th level boss. They really thought the Black Card Emperor was a dark horse. The Black Card Emperor, surrounded by his summoned beasts, walked proudly along the beach. The pride was understandable, for he had killed the glory warrior of Silver City, and the girl was also the honorable Viscount of Golden City and a VIP of Yellow Diamond City. The Black Map Emperor smiled smugly at so many high titles from Yue Baiting. He hadn't expected that there were so many. The man was basking in his success. He was able to kill a higher-ranked player. In some cities of this world, killing another character is considered criminal behavior. For this, the criminal may receive red name status. This player will be wanted in the city in which he committed the offense. If the ransom is not paid, the player will be imprisoned for 24 hours. The Black Card Emperor decided that he definitely shouldn't appear in the 3 cities right now. So he continued to study the area by the beach. The man was concerned about the situation of Out of the Way and that Quickfoot. A man rode outside the happening and revealed that he had been given red name status. His mate told him that Quickfoot had killed the boss of Team Dove, but he was imprisoned instead. The Emperor promised to release him when his status lapsed. While sending the butterfly messenger, the man remembered how much the ransom for the player in prison was. The ransom was 10,000 coins. The Black Card Emperor wanted to visit his friend later and comfort him. The man was determined to reach the palace of the Dragon King and started to synthesize the maps. But after a while, he knelt on the sand in front of the maps and said goodbye to the palace. He had the Langus map synthesized over and over again. He didn't like the mere duplication of names. He cried that he was sick of such repetition. It was important to the man that his card names be cool. The Black Card Emperor decided that what he had done was worth working with what he already had. So he tried his luck again and performed the fusion. The man held the new card tightly with both hands and stared at it with his eyes wide open. Luck had turned to face him. It was the Turtle Dragon Earth Prince card. The Black Card Emperor couldn't believe his luck, for he had a 9-star card synthesized. This unknown beast could hide in its shell in times of imminent danger and endure the enemy's attack with ease. He wondered if he didn't just have a dragon with a turtle shell. There were different lineages of dragons. They obtained their skills in different ways, so the Dragon Flame skill is only in a certain bloodline through blood feeding. There was a small dragon flying near the man's right shoulder, and he thought that a new card wasn't bad after all. He already had a wind dragon, so he could just give it the blood of his newfound dragon. A scoreboard with a regional announcement appeared above the man. The power of the deep sea has been restored. The terrifying devil was freed from the shackles of Valkyrie. The other players had received a general announcement. It stated that the bloody Reef Tower in the Forbidden Sea, someone was still able to stop the invasion of another dimension. This announcement made everyone excited. Player Invincible had discovered the Reef Tower. This meant that the first chapter of the main storyline of Deep Sea Devil, world-level boss, was about to open. A new advert warned that players from another dimension will soon appear. Players should go to the Forbidden Sea and explore on their own. The Black Card Emperor didn't realize what the new players and the new plot were. The Black Map Emperor took a deep breath and released his flying monster. The man wanted to increase his strength quickly, for the seas there were deeper than he had expected. The flying monster, at its master's command, attacked the nearby lobsters and crabs. Its swords of ghost energy chi slashed one by one, turning each one into a card. Thanks to this, the Black Card Emperor raised his level to the 20th level. Now he could get a new skill. He only needed to approach the statue of the card goddess to activate the skill. A man materialized in front of the goddess statue. He had increased his skill level and could now synthesize 4 cards at a time. If he successfully unlocked the Conquest skill, he could receive a random 6-star card, Sapphire Snowman. Next, a personalized quest and +1 skill could possibly be unlocked for him. He could unlock the team building feature and the live feature. He needed to choose, but the goddess was not on his side. He didn't get a single vocational skill to choose from. He hysterically hugged the statue. After gathering his strength, the Black Card Emperor chose the 3rd available skill from the list. It was the card dart. The other skills seemed completely useless to him. A level 1 card dart had an attack distance of 10 meters. A player could use 1 card at a time. They dealt physical damage that depended on the color of the card. The man found it interesting. The Black Card Emperor went to the arena to test how his newfound skill worked. He asked the arena to switch on the human-machine mode. The man reasoned while holding a card at the ready. The instructions for the skill stated that a white card did 50 damage, a green card did 500, a blue card did 5,000, but a purple card did 50,000. The Black Card Emperor threw the purple card accurately at the wooden pillar. And crashing into the wood, the card actually did the specified damage to the target, as much as 50,000. The man was excited about the new skill. It was quite easy to use and the player could easily kill his opponents in an encounter. Suddenly, he received a message from outside the happening that he was being searched for by the Daojian team. The comrade said that apparently the head of this team was lost. All the members of the Black Card team were standing behind their head, who was sitting on a chair opposite the strange man. There was also a strange girl who was standing next to out of the way. The stranger told them that their head had disappeared while exploring the Tower of the Reef. His last message was an order. The order was for his team to contact the Black Card Emperor and his team. The Black Card Emperor raised his hand, stopping the man's story, and said he too was interested in exploring the Tower of the Reef. But the stranger didn't let him finish. A player from the other team held out a bag of coins and said that they were willing to offer them a good reward, and their ship was already ready to sail. The Black Card Emperor was still hesitant. The venture was dangerous and doubtful, but then the man showed some orange cards, also as an offered reward. And the Black Card crew was subdued by this. The Black Card Emperor said firmly that he needed a week to increase his strength and they could then depart. At these words, they agreed. The stranger left the hut where the deal had been struck. The Black Card team waved happily back at him and anticipated the reward. The team commander turned around and saw an unfamiliar girl. He stared at his mates with a question. Outside of the happening said that the girl was just an amateur in the game. Her name was Pretty Builder. She had been helping them a lot lately and they had invited her to join the team. He just wanted to bring her along. The girl assured that she wasn't very strong in combat, but she was very good at transportation. Valkyrie Lin Yun remarked that thanks to her, the nearest city had improved transportation by 1,000%. The Black Card Emperor, hearing his comrade's words, hurriedly took both of the girl's hands in his and assured her that she was now a member of the real Black family. But the girl remarked that no introductions were necessary. She knew about his victory over Yue Baiting. It was quite a good PR campaign and what their team was called. The man tensely remarked that Black Card and Emperor were good names too. The man tensely remarked that Black Card and Emperor were not bad names after all. The Black Card Emperor, standing in front of his crew, said that next week, when it was time to set sail, Pretty Builder and Outside the Happening would stay on land, and Valkyrie Lin Yun and Quickfoot would go with him to the Reef Tower. The players saw a big luxurious airship. It belonged to Team Dojan. The new acquaintance asked the Black Card team to follow him on board. The Black Map Emperor, as well as the other two men of his team, stared at the airship in surprise and remarked that this means of transport had cost at least 100,000 coins. Suddenly, the men were blocked by two strangers. The new acquaintance of Hao Chi's black card team protested in surprise. The men who stopped them wondered why they wanted to have players from a foreign team on the ship. At this moment, a middle-aged man descended from the airship. He was an expert Du Jian. The man was distinguished by his straight back and military bearing. Hao Chi introduced the man to the Black Card Emperor. It was the seventh elder of the Du Jian team, the Du Jian expert. The man said that he had brought the Black Card Emperor and his comrades as outside help on the orders of the head. But expert Du Jian began to mock the Black Card Emperor. He thought the man was always fooling around. His joke provoked laughter from the men who were preventing the crew from boarding the airship. The Black Card Emperor asked without any unnecessary offense or discord if they needed to return the money they had already been paid and leave. Expert Du Jian, who hadn't expected such pride and determination, tensed up, but assured them that they didn't need to. At that time, the Black Card Emperor abruptly turned around and bid farewell to the men. He did not tolerate the ridicule from the other players. Hao Chi tried to stop him, but he was powerless in this situation. He was only a subordinate. Expert Du Jian tensely told Hao Chi that it was nothing that the Black Card Emperor had left. He thought that it would be strange to admit that worthy Team Du Jian needed the help of these three men of the Black Card team. The man noticed that he and Yue Baiting had always been good friends. And if Hao Chi wasn't around, he would have killed this trio right away. Hao Chi tensed through his teeth and remarked that sneaks had no future. Expert Du Jian pointed at the looming airship and pointed out that the Red Card team was already here, and they would definitely avenge their head, and they'd better not interfere. The men of the Black Card team were also about to explore the Reef Tower. In his opinion, the subordinate had accomplished his mission, but the man, looking at the calm surface of the water, expressed doubts that the Black Card crew would be able to reach the Reef Tower. After all, the men did not even have a means of traveling on water, and dangers awaited them that not many could endure. The other players simply did not know the character of the Black Card team members. Meanwhile, they were traveling on a dummy cart through the water towards the desired goal. Valkyrie remarked that the airship would be easier. The Black Card Emperor proudly remarked that he wasn't used to their showing off. The man thought they would do it themselves, and then all the rewards would go to them. Quickfoot slyly pointed out that they didn't seem to have any intention of sharing with anyone. As the three men traveled along the water, they noticed that a large serpentine shadow had grown behind them. The Black Card Emperor stared tensely at the shadow. The men's hearts beat more frequently. They noticed that it was a giant orange snake. They didn't know what it was. The animal began to lean towards the bogus cart. The men were unable to swim away from it. Quickfoot noticed that the animal had a rider. The Black Card Emperor stared at the serpent with a mixture of surprise and interest. There was a man standing on the animal's head. The trio realized that it wasn't a monster after all. It was a summoning card. The stranger said he was Lone Moon from the Red Card crew, and he had heard that the men were quite good at sea battles. He had come to them for advice. The Black Card team commander gave the newly arrived man the middle finger in response. He shouted that let Lone Moon just say the word, and he would hit him, for which he would not be ashamed, and said goodbye. He motioned to Valkyrie Lin Yun and told him to get out of here quickly. The man believed that this Red Card team player had come to avenge them for killing their boss. Valkyrie asked his friends to hold tight then. The man channeled all his strength to accelerate the cart by applying nitrous acceleration. The fast-footed man was frightened by such a crazy speed of the cart. The player of the Red Card team angrily ordered them to stop running away. He shouted that he would take the life of the Black Card Emperor. He ordered his Ministra Turtle to attack. The Black Card Emperor thought for a moment, remembering who Turtle Minister was. When the men saw who they were talking about, they looked at each other and realized that they would not be able to escape and would have to fight. The Turtle Minister was two identical turtles that spewed out energy streams from their mouths. Valkyrie Lin Yun panicked and noticed that naval battles were not his forte. His comrades had to deal with it on their own. The Black Card Emperor said the attack would be on him and asked the other men to stay out of the way. Quickfoot, who was already holding a map at the ready, agreed. Quickfoot summoned Shiny Gryphon and Skywalker. He sat on their backs and flew into the air, away from the enemy's attacks. The Black Card Emperor fired purple cards at his opponent. He ordered to dominate the sea, land, and air, using chi energy for the cards. The purple cards, when they reached their target, dealt the corresponding damage. The man from the red card team didn't understand why his animal was losing vitality so quickly. He thought that the black card Emperor's turtles were dealing a double blow. The man stared in horror at his opponent's actions. He only shouted, "Groundwater!" The summoned beasts of the black card Emperor relentlessly attacked their opponents, twisting them in a whirlpool. Valkyrie Lin Yun assumed that their opponent would still try to get out of the water, but his captain already had a plan for that. Suddenly, the serpent flipped the iron card over. The men went under the water. The black card Emperor took more air into his lungs and held his breath so that death would not come at once and he would have time to get out. At the same time, the man squeezed his eyes tightly shut. Because of the dark waters and closed eyes, the man did not notice the snake creeping up. When he opened his eyes, it had already opened its maw to devour its victim. The man was numb to the impending danger for a moment, but making a quick decision, he lunged out of the water with vigor, the snake's mouth with huge venomous fangs following him. The man in the air released 4 purple cards precisely into the animal's throat. The snake could not withstand such an attack. The player, keeping his footing on the water, began to call out to his friend. A swift-footed man on one of his griffins spotted his captain and flew towards him. The griffin grabbed the man in its clutches and lifted him into the air. The golden wings of the beast shimmered in the bright sun. The Gryphon deftly placed his burden on the prop cart. The black card Emperor noted that the wind had picked up and that the sea serpent was having trouble diving and climbing. Quickfoot, letting go of his beast, landed on the cart towards his friends. They nodded to each other, and Valkyrie Lin Yun used his strength again and accelerated the cart, hiding from the enemy. The man from Team Red Card, standing on the head of his sea snake, clenched his fists in anger. He had lost this battle. He had failed to get the black card Emperor. The man considered himself lucky again. The trio of men were floating on the sea, rejoicing that they had managed to escape alive from the scene. Valkyrie Lin Yun looked ahead and noticed that something unknown had appeared in front of them. It was a huge gray monster with a golden trident in its hand. Quickfoot suggested that his companions take a detour. He thought that the monster would aggro everyone. And he didn't want to repeat the Crystal City massacre. The Black Card Emperor thought that this monster was a lot like a fish eater and might have the skills of a 666 fish eater. Valkyrie Lin Yun pointed out that he who doesn't take risks doesn't drink champagne and should go ahead. The Black Card Emperor supported him. The men received a notification that they had discovered the neutral waters of Poseidon's creature and also launched the particularly successful mission Walking in Poseidon's Footsteps. They had a chance to find a secret treasure in the vast sea. Therefore, the men followed the gray giant. Valkyrie Lin Yun remarked that since it was a neutral creature, it shouldn't attack them. Suddenly, large tentacles wrapped around the creature's leg. The red-yellow octopus began to climb on top of the giant and tried to strangle him. The water around it churned as the two creatures fought. The giant couldn't handle the octopus. The Black Card Emperor noticed that there was a person on top of the octopus's head, namely an octopus-headed man. The captain of the Black Card team became angry that someone had prevented them from reaching their goal. He was surprised that the players could now apparently change their appearance. The Black Card Emperor wondered why an octopus-headed man would attack Poseidon. The Black Card Emperor wondered why the octopus-headed octopus needed to attack Poseidon. The latter tried to fight and go on to his destination point despite the obstacles. The octopus-headed man turned around and looked with his strange eyes at the three men who were on a nearby cart. The men realized that they had been spotted and this did not bode well for them. Their adversary descended towards them on the water. With a wave of his hand, Octopus Head ordered his piranhas to attack the men of Black Card's crew. The dangerous fish immediately obeyed their master's orders and headed for their victims.